Well, I hope we're live. I think so. I think my mic's coming through, so please say in the chat if you are. Oh, somebody has done some spam already. That's exciting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Am I Rolling? A twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast, but now on stream. Very exciting. Happy 2023, everyone. It's so glad that you're here with us. And hello, new people who've come over. I can't imagine why you're here, but thank you so much. This is part one of The Between, a sort of Victorian monster hunting gothic horror game created by the wonderful hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction, because again I didn't check this before, Jason Cordova, just over here, or maybe over here depending on where they are on the overlay. And then we've got some wonderful players, some great British UK role players from the Merely Role Players cast. They'll get a chance to introduce themselves in a second, but I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and watching. One thing I'll say straight up the top of the stream: this is a dark game, as we've just covered in our Lines and Veils and Boundaries and Foundries. So if at any time, folks, you if you're watching this and you're like, I don't know if this is for me, do feel free to take that break and stay around. We'll try and do I will try and be doing some content warnings in the chat if they appear, as they appear. But again, just so take care of yourselves at home when you're just watching this as well. So, right, that's all I'm going to say, because that's all I can do on this. I'm going to pass over to our wonderful guest GM, Jason. So I'll just move my arms over and hopefully they'll appear.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. All right. Well, so I think I want to start by having all of us introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you'd like for us to know about you, I guess. I'll start, though. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the founder of the Gauntlet Gaming Community, which is a online play community, publisher, and podcast network. And I do different things with that. I'm the creator of this game, The Between, as well as its sister game, Brindlewood Bay. And I'm very excited to run this for you all today. Fiona.
Oh, well, I've already just spoken, but hello again. Hello again. My name is Fiona. I am the host of What Am I Rolling, a twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast. I also co-host, in case, I'm sure you've heard of a little game called D&D. It's been in the news recently, don't worry about it. I also do a weekly podcast called the DM's Book Club, where we take some lore about D&D, change it, and see how we could implement it in other campaign games, and also just promote other RPGs in general, like this one. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm very excited. Jason, do you want us to introduce what character we're playing now? Do you want to do that
No,
later?
not yet. No.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to throw it over. I'm going to throw it over to Strat, if that's all right. Strat, please introduce yourself.
It is okay. Hello, I'm Strat, he, him. I am a regular performer on the Merely Role Players podcast, where I play a character called Briar, who is a shape-shifting Fey Guardian and part-time employee of the National Trust, which is, I guess, a small, well, quite a big thing in England where they look after forests and things. Primarily from there, have joined the What Am I Rolling podcast before and thoroughly loved it, and really happy to be back. I'll pass over to Helen.
Hi, I'm Helen. I use pronouns she, her. The only role playing I've ever done has been with Matt Boothman. We have been in an exclusive gamer GM relationship until this point. So I think Jason should feel really honoured. And yeah, Matt, it's not over. It's just
I will say Matt is in the chat. Matt is in the chat.
I know.
Brilliant. Last but not least,
witnessing this cheating.
I know.
Outrageous.
Go ahead, Nat.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, I'm Natalie. Nat is fine. I use she, her pronouns. I am TTRPG player and DM as of late as well. But here with the Merely Role Players cast, I feature in Vigil, which is what Strat was referring to before, as well, and a bunch of the other studio productions that we do there. I don't know what else. I love the dark and gothic and the horror, and also I've recently started DMing Brindlewood Bay, so this is very exciting. Thanks for having me.
Fabulous. So I like to kick off with a procedure called CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter. And the basic purpose of it is just to establish some expectations at a basic level for what this game is and what we're going to be doing today and tomorrow. And so the concept of The Between is a tabletop role-playing game about a group of mysterious monster hunters in Victorian-era London. These hunters learn about various monstrous threats in the city. They conduct investigations in order to neutralize the threats. Over time, they become aware of the plans of a criminal mastermind who is pulling the strings behind the scenes. The hunters will eventually be forced to confront this criminal mastermind in order to save Queen and country. The Between is directly inspired by the TV show Penny Dreadful, but also takes inspiration from British horror classics, the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, pulp-era media, things like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell, stuff like that. The game's mechanics are based on Apocalypse World and Brindlewood Bay. You don't need to know anything about those two games before we start playing, though. The aim. The aim of the characters in the story is to keep London safe by investigating monstrous threats and learning how to stop them. Our aim as players is to learn more about these characters' mysterious pasts, as well as to paint a vivid picture of our version of Victorian-era London, which is a responsibility that we all share. The aim for today's session is to introduce our characters, learn the basics of how the game works by playing it, and then having a debrief at the end. The tone. The tone of The Between is dark, mysterious, and sensual. A little bit of levity or humor from time to time is okay, but we will always try to return to that dark, brooding place the characters exist in. Finally, subject matter. A lot of this is not going to come up for this two-shot, but it is worth pointing out for people interested in the game, I suppose. Subject matter. Murder, cannibalism, body horror, dark sexual themes, erotic sensuality, threats to animals and children, foul language, blasphemy, witchcraft, defiling graves and corpses are all things that come up frequently in this game.
Wow,
Take a breath.
Which one first, Jason?
Yeah.
Sweetie box. Lights.
We're going to talk about safety tools in a moment, but in the interest of establishing some basic expectations right now, that you should know that the game generally deals with some dark and intense subject matter. Okay, speaking of safety tools, no game is more important than the people playing it. We are going to paint a dark, unsettling portrait of Victorian-era London, but we're going to do it in a way that respects everyone's boundaries of safety and consent. In order to do that, we'll be using some safety tools. We have the open door policy, the X card, and lines and veils. The open door policy is fairly simple. If you need to leave for some reason, you may. You don't have to explain yourself. The X card, we've already talked about that off mic, but it's available. And then lines and veils. We have handled lines and veils in the character keeper, but for people who are watching the video who maybe don't know what lines and veils are, lines are things that we just don't want to have in the story, period. It's just not subject matter we care to do. And veils are things that we are going to not role play. So we're okay with it being in the story. We just prefer not to focus on it in the role play. And so I like to put mine out there as an example. We'll have sexual violence behind a line. I don't want sexual violence in the story, so we're not going to do that. And then I like to put torture behind a veil. I'm okay with torture being a thing the characters do. I just prefer not to roleplay that. But we have other lines and veils, which we're not going to say right now, just to keep to maintain privacy. But just be mindful of the safety, the stuff on the safety tab of the character keeper. And so normally here, this is all a scripted part in the game, by the way, that I'm doing. But normally here's where you would do character creation, but we've already done that. So instead, I'm just going to kind of skip ahead a little bit and share a few details about the setting. So these characters, these hunters, they are the current residents of a place called Hargrave House, which is a mansion on Belgrave Square in London. The people who live there share the common goal of defending the city from whatever dark forces are lurking in its shadows, be it monster or murderer. They operate outside of official channels, frequently tackling cases that Scotland Yard can't or won't. Importantly, Hargrave House existed long before the characters took up residence there, and previous residents were doing this same kind of work. By the time we join these characters, they have already been living and working together for a time. We don't dwell on how they came to live at Hargrave House, nor do we care about who owns or funds Hargrave House. We may learn about those things like if we were doing a long-term campaign, but for now, just know that Hargrave House just is. It is a thing. Another thing to know is that these characters are to remain mysterious. This is a really important part of the game. We should avoid talking about their pasts, both in and out of character, unless we are prompted to do so by the game's rules. The reason why we do that is because we want to learn about these characters as we play. It's a little bit like watching a good TV show, right? Like, we don't learn everything about the characters in a TV show all at once, unless it's a bad TV show. The information is given to us in pieces, right? At dramatically interesting moments. That's kind of what we do here. Now, normally I would do a summary of all the playbooks, but we don't need to do that. So I'm instead going to skip ahead to introducing characters. So we're going to go around the table and everyone introduce your character by name, look, and vice. And that's it. If you want to, you can tell us what your playbook moves do, but I'll leave that up to you. That's kind of your choice. But name, look, and vice is what we want to kind of focus on. And everyone else, be paying close attention because we're going to go around again later and get a little deeper into the characters, and we will all be responsible for essentially decorating their bedroom at Hargrave House.
Oh my God.
Putting stuff into their room, right? So just be aware of that.
It's The Sims.
It's The Sims.
Exactly, right.
Teddy bears and fairy lights for everyone.
with a goth family all over. I love it.
I'm going to go in the order of the sheet. And so let's start with, we'll start with Nat and Wild Rose Fletcher.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Wild Rose Fletcher. I'm playing the American character sheet. We made this joke off air before the stream that Jason was coming over here and writing about some kind of fantastical version of Victorian London. So I'm paying him back in kind by playing some fantastical version of an American character. She is always just a little bit dirty. She's got cheeks that just a little bit smudged with dirt and grime. She's wearing the sort of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen style, like the corset bodice over a shirt with the very tight trousers, and a big duster over the top. You'll occasionally see her smoking, but when she pulls out her cigarillo case, it is surprising, given like she looks a little scruffy. But this cigarillo case is pretty shiny and expensive looking. There's a couple of jewels inlaid in there. She also has a little bolo tie around the neck that's got a little turquoise inlay, and just little pieces about her that make you think there's something a little bit off about this combo of looks. Her vice. Now, not many people will have seen this, I suppose, because she's still quite covered up. But she has quite a few tattoos on her body.
Fabulous, thank you. Let's go over, we will skip the factotum because that's what is the appropriate thing to do with factotum. And we shall instead go over to...
Makes sense.
The factotum always goes last. Let's go over to the undeniable Miss Eve Astria. Interesting.
Lovely.
Yes, so that'll be me. Eve uses she, her pronouns also. She is known at least across London and probably far beyond for her outstanding beauty. She has luminous skin and these beautiful green eyes. She's a strong presence in a room. She has fabulous curves, and her vice is extravagant spending. And I'm not going to go into any detail of what she might be spending extravagantly on.
You're going to have lots of opportunity to spend extravagantly today, so that's good.
I should
and
note
there's no treasure score, so you can spend as much as you want. So.
Oh, God. Oh no, that's on the company card.
We don't track gold. We don't track gold pieces in between. So, fabulous. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done, Helen? I didn't want to cut you off if you were.
No, I realised I should mention that she's always wearing gloves.
Good. Let's go over to Strat and Jonas Hart, the legacy.
Yes, so Jonas Hart is a big man that if you were to see him, he'd be trying to draw attention away from himself. Like he's a big man, but hunched up. He would walk with purpose and with confidence, but would be trying to keep to the shadows and avoid attention. He wears a maroon-stained black leather coat. He always wears that coat and seemingly always wears all of the other clothes as well. He has vein-like scars up his arms, and they just poke out up onto his neck. So they're kind of mostly hidden, but if you were to look closely, or if he were allowed to let you look close enough, you'd kind of see them poking up. And also, if you're observant, you would notice he was missing his ring finger. And his vice is laudanum.
Not a great one to have.
Nope, I don't think so.
Let's go finally to the factotum, who is not a resident of Hargrave House, but who does live there, and answers the door. So, Grandson, do tell us about you.
Yes, so I'm playing Grandson. I'm glad you said the name of the playbook, because I definitely pronounced it differently in my head. So that shows where I am. But yes, I'm playing Grandson in service to Jonas Hart. I want you to imagine whereas Jonas Hart, you've described him as like a big guy who's quite small. This is now a small, tiny woman who's quite big, in a sense of like her presence. I like to imagine that she's wearing what did I put there? She's got a black dress on with little magpie detail, a simple wool scarf just sort of covering up a little bit at the top. But she always has her black umbrella, not open all the time because that would be very silly and improper, but every time she goes out, whether the rain or shine, the umbrella comes out. I like to think that she just appears behind Jonas Hart at random points, and it's like, Jonas, just like, so that sort of genuine is a woman of very few words, but is quite serious and is definitely looks after her employer quite well. Her vice, which seems an opportune to this sort of serious demeanour, is comedies. So she can often be seen strolling out on her off day, maybe down towards the local vaudeville, and she's like, got tickets to see the next Oscar Wilde play, Importance of Being Earnest, and is in the front row for most nights.
Fabulous. Let's go around again. Wild Rose Fletcher. So here, everyone pay close attention, because when I'm done, everyone else but Nat, is going to say something we think might be found in Ms. Fletcher's personal quarters at Hargrave House. This is essentially like your starting equipment list, but it doesn't have to be like items that you can carry. It just is something that you think is interesting, okay? And so, Wild Rose Fletcher, you grew up in the big city on the eastern seaboard of the United States, the scion of a prominent family. But you detested that life, the formality, the pretension, the venomous hypocrisy. And so you went west. You had adventures, got good with a gun, even joined a traveling show for a time. But then came the curse, and everything changed. You did your best to control it, and some nights were definitely worse than others, but eventually it got to be too much. Even your days were affected by the changes within you. Your behavior became reckless and unpredictable, and then you had to run far away. In the end, it was London calling, a thick, throbbing mass of humanity within which to lose yourself, the whole world and all its lovely pleasures right within your grasp. But the curse has found you, like it always does. Hopefully these new folks, these hunters you've thrown in with, can help you for good, permanent-like, when the time comes. And so with all that said, the rest of us get to say what we think can be found in Wild Rose's rooms. I will note that Wild Rose already has I don't know if you have a gun yet, Wild Rose.
It was
no, you don't. That was an option. Yeah, but yeah. So a gun is an option. Yeah.
Can I have one anyway?
I will give you a gun. Yeah, I'll say.
Good at it?
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'll say you have a.
Can we just ask for guns in this game?
Yeah, you can take like a 6-shooter. I don't.
Sure,
I'm sure there's a. I can get you a brand later if you want, but that's a good start.
I won't know the difference. I'd like a pew pew, please.
And Strat, Fiona, and Helen can all get to say one thing as well.
Well, 100%. If Wild Rose was in the circus at one point, there would definitely be a unicycle somewhere, probably under the bed, but it would be like almost not as big as a penny farthing, but definitely a ridiculously big wheel size compared to a normal modern day unicycle.
You'll just note all these things in the section called personal quarters down at the bottom of the little character
Oh, I was
sheet.
writing it down on paper, like
yeah, that's
like
you
a
got
mug. Like a mug. Oh no.
So I think something else that is in the room, I think nailed to the wall, is a horseshoe. Probably an old used shoe from a horse you have fond memories of back in the States, and it travels with you.
unless anyone wants to throw one out.
Okay. I think Rose has a thesaurus.
All right.
Potentially, this thesaurus has the middle cut out, and there's something inside it. But I'm just going to state the thesaurusness of the thesaurus, and then put my teeth back in.
Helen, you're giving me a magic item that is nothing and yet everything. Thank you for this gift.
Fantastic. Let's go over to Eve Estrella. Oh, Eve, you have always been the most beautiful person in the room. Your looks have opened doors for you for as long as you can remember. All the money and material things anyone could want laid at your feet. Artists have found inspiration in the brightness of your eyes, the delicate curve of your cheekbones, the plump softness of your lips. One such artistic work, a masterwork, rises above them all, for it captures the essence of you. It is, quite simply, more you than you. Lately, people sacrifice everything to be near you, to please you, and if they're lucky, to touch you. But what to do when you get bored with being one of the gods? Well, you go hunt monsters at Hargrave House. That's what you get to do. Now, with that introduction, what do we all think could be found in Eve Estrella's no doubt palatial rooms in Hargrave House?
I think fabulous, and I think the word fabulous is underlined and circled with stars all around it. Dressing table, like the most ornate, the most ridiculous, like 100 drawers all filled with various bits and pieces. Mirrors everywhere, so you can see every single inch of you.
Wow.
I like to think
it probably takes up one entire length of the wall.
Yeah.
It's so vast.
Yeah.
I like to think that none of us even questioned that this room was going to be Ava's room. Like that. We all saw it and were like, all right, that's her. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to fight it. I think that she's got the little black book to end all little black books.
Ooh.
Like contacts throughout the city. Like she just knows people, and there's a good portion of them who owe her a favor.
And I think there would be on one of the various many coffee table-esque type things would be a huge book, which is just stuffed with artist drawings of of admirers sending her stuff, and it is packed full, watercolors, charcoal pencils and stuff, and it's just massive. And she just keeps it there. Whether it's looked at or not is a different matter. But yes, just all basically fan art is what we'd call it, but of beautiful drawings, as immaculate drawings of the finest of the fine of Eva.
I think you have... I think you have the crown of Helen of Troy.
What?
Just sitting on the nightstand.
Next to her hairbrush and her diary.
Exactly.
Just a little trinket.
Yeah.
One of the few
Little
things I've been
trinket.
given over the years.
As her actual nightcap.
I don't feel I can throw a tantrum about not being given a gun now.
Jonas Hart. Hargrave House is filled with monster hunters, but you're the only one who was born to do it. Your parents, their parents, and their parents before them have known one thing: reveling in the destruction of ungodly beasts and carnivorous terrors. Your family name has been whispered in secret meetings for generations, passed along to those in need of your hereditary talents. You were taught how to hold a blade when you were a child and completed your first hunt not many years after. Your knowledge of combat and trapping is unparalleled, but you've grown disillusioned with your heritage. You want to be more than just another entry in a long ledger of death. You want out. But you have one last score to settle first, a curse of sorts, a beast that's haunted you and your family for as long as anyone can remember. Prepare to say your family's vow. And I will tell you that the vow is, like all of the playbook moves, if you read them in order, that's the vow of the Hart family. What do we suppose can be found in Jonas Hart's, no doubt, utilitarian quarters at Hargrave House?
There's got to be somewhere, probably stuffed in a drawer, out of the way, definitely not on show. Family portrait, like a small one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this of Jonas and his parents, or of?
Or maybe it's one of those smaller, expected to go in a lot. Yeah, maybe that's it. It's a locket with a little picture of your parents in it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether Jonas would wear that or shove it at the back of a drawer, never to be looked at. Up to you.
Back of the drawer.
You have the still beating heart of the first vampire in a black velvet box.
I'm going far too mundane with this.
I know, we're like, have a book, have a thesaurus. Oh! I think underneath your bed, Jonas, you have possibly one of very few items that was given to you as either as a festive gift or like a birthday gift or something, and it was a pair of slippers that are monogrammed with the family crest on them.
What every good monster hunter needs.
That's what I think.
I'm sure Jonas will find a way of killing something with them.
Slap them together. Getting flies.
And then Helen, you'll give one as well.
I think a carriage clock on a mantelpiece. Initially I was thinking wooden, potentially with some space in the back, but I'm changing my mind, and I think it's more of a hefty, metal thing. So what I have in my mind is a beautiful Victorian version of that clock that they used to offer to give to people when they moved their retirement plan over to them on their adverts on the TV.
Oh,
that is
cool.
potentially too niche a British reference, but so Strat Jonas has got like a nice glam version of that rather than like a free TV version, but like heft.
Sure. But carriage clock hyphen hefty.
And last but least is Granson. Granson, you had a life before you entered the service of your employer, but the details of that life are unimportant. All that matters now is the person you serve, Mr. Hart, and Hargrave House, where you will grow ancient and die if you're lucky. More likely, your employer's colleagues, these hunters, will be the end of you, overturning things that should remain hidden and goading on terrors that dwell in dark places. You'll do your best to help them, of course, to keep them alive, because without them, what are you really? And so we put things in the humble servants' quarters of Granson.
So I think you have the contract that you signed with Jonas that is, of course, signed in your own blood.
As is the way.
As is the way.
I'm trying to think of all the possibilities now of something like. I think you have some kind of little wooden carved trinket that was part of an occult ritual that you never speak about. And that is, it's in the shape of an animal that's quite unusual to have been seen at this time in this place. So maybe it's something like a hyena or something like that.
Cool.
I think you have like a monster manual. I think you have like a book of that like details like various monsters that the Hearts have like hunted over the centuries. Maybe Jonas himself doesn't care about those details, and so you sort of maintain them.
I think Granson has a like a doctor's medicine case. So it's like in my head it's like a cross between a doctor's leather bag and like a jewelry box that folds out.
Oh, great.
And it's not all necessarily standard issue medicines of the time. You might have things from further back. You might have things that other people don't know about yet. You might have things only you know about.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Fantastic. That is character introduction sorted.
Ooh.
Now that we have met the characters, we are ready to play. I'm going to go ahead and sort of introduce the game and kind of kick us off with our first phase. And then probably once we're done with that, we'll take a little break. I do want to say, though, that even though this is a game that's set in a historical time period, we aren't going to dwell on historical accuracy.
Oh.
We'll do our best to represent the technology and culture of the era, but we're going to get some things wrong every now and then, and that's okay. I'd also like to point out that during this time period, people with marginalized identities would likely have been treated very poorly in society. We're going to ignore that part of history. In the world of the between, things like race, nationality, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, and neurodivergence are not necessarily a social barrier. Are there any questions before we begin?
No,
All right, then.
No, I'm just excited for that we did our sim house building and now we get to live in it. So
Yeah, indeed. Hargrave House is an old Gothic revival style building. It stands out from its neighbors on Belgrave Square, which are done in the more conventional classical style. Hargrave House is also different because it's not just a residence, but a place of work, dark work. And some more of that dark work has just landed on the doorstep. Now, if you want to follow along with this, click over to the tab that says threats, and I have put the summary of the threat there, that first column. But here we go. The spider silk seamstress. Among academics, Sir Richard Harlow was a well-regarded, if eccentric, scholar of folklore, known for his vivid storytelling and far-fetched theories. To Hargrave House, he was a trusted friend whose expertise in fey lore and magic proved invaluable on numerous occasions. The news of his sudden death comes as a shock, even more the manner of his passing. Sir Richard's body was found at his desk, strangely hollowed and preserved, wrapped head to toe in delicate silver thread. What's more, he was set to present a summary of his life's work at the Blue Feather Society, a private salon where curious minds explore the more esoteric subjects not discussed in formal institutions. Sir Richard was convinced that creatures of the Fey realm, or the other crowd, had infiltrated London, and he supposedly had new evidence to support his theory. Ms. Abigail Walker, chair of the Blue Feather Society, reveals that Sir Richard had been courting Miss Hazel Beaumont, a mysterious seamstress whose magnificent fashion designs, and apparently her company, have proved irresistible to a number of London's artistic and academic elite. Each one of her suitors have also vanished, though their bodies remain missing. Now, I have to look at the Hunters tab and see who among you has the highest sensitivity score. Eve has a 1, and so does Jonas Hart. So I shall pick and say, Jonas, or Mr. Hart, Hargrave House is familiar enough with Fey magic to recognize its manifestations in the manner of Sir Richard's death. How do you know that Ms. Beaumont is no human, but a dangerous Fey creature in disguise?
It's her aura. Every time I get close to her, something just feels off. She looks too like she belongs, like she's almost trying to convince people she is who she says she is. It's subtle. It's not something you'd pick up unless you're in the trade for a while, but it's there. It's like this little itch in the back of your head that just won't go away.
Excellent. Now, the way this game works is I'm going to present you with questions, and each of those questions has an associated opportunity. The questions are essentially what you're trying to solve. That's the mystery of what you're trying to solve. And you'll be investigating and collecting clues, and eventually you'll come up with a theory of the case, depending on which question you decide to pursue. We have 3 questions for the Spider Silk Seamstress. All of them are just different ways of solving this problem. One of them is, some of them are less complex than others. The ones that are less complex have a more dangerous resolution. They're more physically dangerous. So you have to kind of like make a decision about that. But the least complex question is, how is the creature ensnaring her victims? If you answer that correctly, then you can resolve the threat by allowing one of you to be lured by the seamstress as bait and then capturing or destroying her. Easiest question, hardest resolution, most dangerous resolution. The next question is, what is the creature's true name? That allows you to resolve the threat by learning the creature's true name, gaining power over her, and dismantling the binding rituals which sustain her in the human realm. I'll note that Fey names can take many forms, and your theory will decide whether that's a fleeting series of images, a song or poem, a word, a node to human tongues, that kind of thing. Fey names are not just names, they're ideas, concepts. That's complexity 6. The most complex question is, what does the creature truly want? This allows you to resolve the threat by striking a bargain with the creature in accordance with ancient Fey customs. And so those are the questions that are being pursued. There is also an aspect of something called the Janus Mask, which I'll talk about later, available on this particular threat, which is called the Mask of Glamour. I'll discuss the Janus Mask in due time. We're going to do the day phase. gameplay in the between is divided up between 4 phases: day, dusk, night, and dawn. And day is probably the most similar to like any other role-playing game. You just wander about and you investigate things, you do whatever you want to do, and then we roll dice and kind of see how things go. Dusk is kind of like an upkeep preparation phase for the night phase. The night phase is a very short, fast, and feral phase, very like scary and intense. And then the dawn is like our sort of that's truly like the upkeep phase. That's when you get your experience points and all that kind of stuff. You each have selected dawn questions on your character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
What you're trying to do is, at the end of the session, the questions that you've picked, you want to role play so that you answer yes to those by the end, right? By the time we get to the dawn, you want to be able to say yes to those things that you picked.
Mm-hmm.
So just as an example here, Jonas, your selected dawn questions are: did you loudly curse your family's name, and did you revel in the thrill of the hunt? As long as you do that before we get to the dawn phase, you're good. You get experience for it. There's also dawn questions that everyone has available at all times, which are different different, like basically scenario resolution things, which we'll talk about as we go. But the 2 that you pick are the ones that you get to kind of role play towards. So when we get back from the break, we're going to do a day phase.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what you want to do. I'll kind of tell you what your leads are right now, just to remind you. Sir Richard was found at his home, dead, so you can certainly go there and see what's going on at his house. He was also meeting with Ms. Abigail Walker from the Blue Feather Society to give this presentation. I'll also tell you, a sort of extra lead, that tonight is a party called the Midsummer Masquerade, and it is well known that Ms. Beaumont has provided outfits for people who are attending the Midsummer Masquerade. And so that might be maybe finding some of those people or going to the party tonight itself. You can also go to Ms. Beaumont's shop on Savile Row if you wish. So these are all different leads you can take. In future like sessions, i.e. tomorrow, you'll have more chances to you will have stacked up some conditions, and that's when you have scenes with each other to get those conditions cleared. Mm-hmm. But for now, the focus is really on the investigation. So if we could just take a 5-minute break,
yes,
that would be fabulous.
Not a problem. Well, we'll be right back, guys. About 5 minutes. Stay around, chat, see if you've got your own theories, etc., and put them in the chat. So we're definitely not looking at it, so we definitely won't cheat. back in 5, guys. And we should be back. Hi, guys. Let us know in the chat if we're back. I think we are. Yes, we are.
Fantastic. It's the day phase. I like to say that the day phase belongs to you, and the night phase belongs to me. So this is your phase. Let's see what we want to do today. We're going to go around the table, and I'll start with Mr. Hart. How would you like to proceed this morning and afternoon?
Straight to where it happened. I need to get a sense of what was done. See the blood.
That sounds good. Sir Richard's, I think he has a townhouse, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Sir Richard's flat. Very good. Granson, are you going to go with Mr. Hart, or are you going to do some other business?
No, absolutely. I will go along with him. Even if I guess like you're putting on your coat or something, and I just appear behind you, already ready with my umbrella. So, shall we?
I'm already going. You better keep up.
Always. And then you cut to like a wide shot of big Jonas Hart, and then a smaller silhouette of Grandson going behind.
Fabulous. Wild Rose, what are you doing today?
Well, I have a suggestion, but it kind of depends on what Eva wants to do. That if this Ms. Beaumont is known for, well, if this Ms. Beaumont is known for her elaborate styles and the fanciest of gowns, well, you ought to be in 'em, surely.
Absolutely. Let's go shopping.
Well, you can do the shopping. I'll be watching your back. Can't have a lady going into such a situation all alone, like, can we?
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Why don't we start with Mr. Hart and Granson? Um, Normally, if you had were in like if your characters had collected conditions and needed to talk them out to get them cleared, I would give you a scene like in the cab on the way or whatever. But that's where your vices come in play. Basically, you kind of do your vice with another character in order to clear conditions. But that's not a concern at the moment. So we shall just go straight forward to Sir Richard's flat. When you walk in and you have access to it, no one's going to stop you. Well, there's a maid, and she's probably too distraught to try to stop you. There are books and papers stacked from floor to ceiling. They make a sort of nest surrounding a large mahogany writing desk, a dusty cabinet of curiosities, artifacts from a lifetime of travel, a simple wardrobe of plain tweed suits, and a bed rarely slept in. I'm going to pose a question to you all called Paint the Scene. Paint the Scene is a question that I pose to all of you as players in order to the answering of it explores an idea about Sir Richard's flat. And so the question for everyone is, Sir Richard was clearly obsessed with his work. And I'll remind you, he was a folklorist. What signs indicate he had uncovered new proof of his theories?
I think attempts to record the explanation of the proof. So I'm thinking scrunched up paper in a bin, a messy writing table, potentially empty ink pots. So there's like a sense of franticness around the writing desk area. If so, but there isn't anything to find where there's a partly written sheet or anything. There's just evidence that a lot of writing has happened, and anything finalized is elsewhere.
I love it. That's great.
That's really cool.
Everyone gets to speak.
I think just to build on that, I think not only is there writing there, but there's, as with all these sort of things, there's like drawings and illustrations, but like partial, and so maybe, again, similar sort of thing ripped up. But there's definitely on the wall more groupings of certain like individuals or something like that, with like maybe crosses through them and question marks, and the images themselves. At some point, if you look around, it covers the whole walls, these little bits of paper, and some of them maybe mesh together to make bigger creatures and stuff, maybe like actual size, depending on what you're looking at and stuff. And it's almost like a magic eye image, perhaps. If you step back, you see the whole maybe network of different things, but some of them don't. It looks scribblings, like almost like childlike scribblings in a way. If you see, like a child's had a dream and then drawn it. So equally in the sort of childlike, but also terrifying, if you see what I mean.
Nice.
I think on the desk, amongst all this mess and seem like scrawling and whatnot, is a short, thin branch with a single leaf off of it, and at first glance it's like, oh, it's a little twig, and then as you move round it, in the same way you get unnerved when paintings eyes move to follow you around the room, as you walk around it, it shifts and it moves, and maybe the colors change, and maybe they're not colors you recognize or have never seen before, and then it's back to just being a twig. And you forget about it, and then you turn around and you spot it again, and it just slips in and out of memory, and every time you see it, it's slightly different.
I love it.
I think on one of the walls there is a display case, and he's not gone full rack of taxidermy, but what he does have is different feathers that have been pinned to a board that's in a glass display case, but one is missing.
Ooh.
Mr. Hart and Granson. The maid, her name is Jenny Snell. She has wild curly locks. She wears a simple maid's dress with pockets and has, well, I would say a haunted expression, but she also probably has something of an embarrassed expression given the state of the place. She greets you. She does not have the wherewithal to stop you from coming in. And yeah. What do you two do? She's just she's kind of in shock about all this whole situation. She doesn't stop you from coming in and taking a look around or questioning her or anything. She might even think you're from Scotland Yard at first, right? The body's been taken away already.
Is she? I'm guessing she's not necessarily in the room. Is she like sort of in the corridor? Or is she like? Where is she in the house? If you see what I mean.
Well, she sort of like follows you around, and she'll kind of say, "Are you here with Scotland Yard about Sir Richard? Is that what this is about?"
We're investigating it. Yeah. Have you touched anything?
And
you moved
she
anything?
Looks around at the state of the place and probably wonders why that's even a concern of any sort at all. But nevertheless, she says, I was told that some people from Scotland Yard would be by and that I should let you in. And, well...
You've done the right thing. Well done. So you haven't moved anything. You haven't tried to clean up. You haven't done anything. This is as it was when the corpse was found.
Well, I had very strict instructions from Sir Richard not to ever touch anything. I didn't really have much of a job at all, truth be told.
Okay, good. Granson, talk to the maid. I'm gonna circle the room. I just like to slowly hunter's gaze on every little bit and leave the help to talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Let's trigger a move here. So if you want to follow along with the moves reference tab, this is the information move. When you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, describe how you're doing it, and roll with an appropriate ability. I think you're probably using reason by just kind of examining the room, generally speaking. So go ahead and roll 2d6 and add your reason score to it.
Okay, so that's 2d6, and I have a reason of 0. So here we go. It's a 4.
4. That is not good. As you are looking around, Jenny Snell, she grabs you quite suddenly, Granson, by the shoulders. And she says, Oh, I don't feel well at all. Something's happening. And at this point, you see something stretching her throat. A puffing, undulating ball of flesh, something black underneath.
Oh my God.
And before you know it, a spray of viscera-covered spiders explode out of her mouth. All over you, Granson.
Yep.
She falls down, quite dead. Unless, Mr. Hart, you would like to mark the Janus mask. This game has a mechanic called the Janus mask, in which you can choose to mark either the mask of the past on your character sheet, or the mask of the future, or the mask of glamour, which is available from the Spider Silk Seamstress. You do what it says, and I will make your die roll better, and poor Jenny Snell will not die from spiders crawling up from her torso, from her neck.
Who's going to clean that up?
It's probably going to be me. I think whilst she doesn't die, if Strat does hit this, I'm still going to get covered in some way, so I'm braced for that.
So it's up to it's up to you, Jonas.
Let's go for it. I don't know how the mask works. Let's use the tools at hand.
So the Mask of the Past is probably the one I'd start with. You mark the first box, and that's your first opportunity. You don't have to do it yet, what it says, but it's your first opportunity to start telling us about your character's past, right? And so mark it and think about it for now. Instead, your die roll is a 7 to 9, not a 4, and you'll get a clue. Jenny's safe. We'll talk about the clue in a minute. Granson, it sounds like you are going to try to chat up Jenny. That's at least what Mr. Hart said to do. So what do you say?
Yes, I'll be like, Misk, please let us show me around the flat and let us see, like, and ask her about like where she was, like try and just distract her from the room, maybe even take her out of the room and check like the windows and doors and see if there's any forced entry. Like not necessarily. I'm asking about where she was in a nice sense, like what was she doing, etc. Rather than like distracting her from the what was found in the.
You can do the information move with presence, since you're sort of. It's already established that this is a sort of like social class thing, and then also you're kind of trying to keep her calm and stuff.
Yes. Well, I will do that. So I don't have anything in presence. I'm going to roll that. Oh, but that is an 11.
Oh, very good.
Nice, yes.
I will go ahead and tell you this. You're going to get your clue. Mm-hmm. If you want to mark the Janus mask, you can bump it up to a 12. And a 12 on the information move means you also find what's called a mastermind clue. Now, in a 2-shot, it's not as important, but if we were playing the full campaign of the Between, this is how you get closer and closer to figuring out the bigger story behind it all, right? But it could be fun to do just to do. So I'll leave it up to you.
Of course. I want to feel the joy of getting a 12. Yeah. Absolutely. So I will invoke the Janus mask then.
Very good. We'll come back to the scene with your clues in a bit. Mm-hmm. Let's go talk to Wild Rose and Ava. This feels like a odd couple situation to me. Maybe I don't know if I'm interpreting that correctly, but that's my sense of it. I have a feeling, given that we know that Wild Rose is frequently dirty, that Wild Rose doesn't go to Savile Row very often. Whereas
no, sir.
Ms. Astria probably is very well known, right? So let's talk. Savile Row, of course, vibrant, bustling storefronts, tailors laboring by lamplight at night. Relentless displays of luxury and excess. Let's paint the scene, everyone. They say a perfect fit makes you feel like a new person. How do the wares on display at the various stores tempt you to reinvent yourself, even assume a new identity? If at all. Maybe Miss Astria always wants to be Miss Astria.
Well, I'll leap in here straight away with detail in the sense of, with Savile Row, it's windows and windows and windows, but the mannequins in the windows, they are at certain heights. They're deliberately positioned so that when you look in, you see your reflection with the suit or the outfit on them. No matter, if you're slightly shorter or smaller, there's always a outfit for you, and it's deliberately done so. You can see as you pass lots of headless mannequins in these beautiful outfits, and as you look in, then you see yourself in this beautiful outfit as well.
Nice. I think honestly for Rose, it's sort of the opposite effect. She's walking down and seeing all these outfits that feel like the world that she left, and it's more of an analytical. I can see that they're all costumes. Every single one is a costume. It's not a person. It's someone that people want other people to believe them to be. So I guess for her, they all look like opportunities rather than something that she actually aspires to be. And then in terms of to the general world walking by, I guess, yeah, I like that they're all at the right height. I think there is a millinery as well that does hats, and each one leans a little bit more towards the ascot end of things, which I know is a later thing, slightly later, but thereabouts. So I think there is a hat shop that's got these beautiful like miniature top hats, silk hats with all sorts of. Some of them have like fruit on. Some of them have a taxidermy bird. Some of them have like a bit of lace coming down. So whilst the normal clothes feel like costumes, there are also clothes that are more elaborate and definitely leaning towards costumey.
Wow.
As well.
Very cool.
So I think obviously it is a visual feast, this road, but I think the shop owners play more than just your vision. I think they're playing to the other senses. And I think out front of all the shops and all the doorways are bouquets of fresh flowers and incense, and as much as they can do to cover over the general smell and malaise of London, which would permeate even Savile Row. I've still got horses going up and down it. So yeah, it's almost sickly sweet because London is the height of its stench in Victorian times. It's kind of this weird floral sweet thing mixing with the standard smell. So it's really a true assault on your nose.
Mm.
Is that everybody? Did everybody speak? Or?
No, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so while everything might be a costume to other people, it doesn't feel that way so much when you are always the star of the show. So it's I think what's most enthralling for Eva and Eve and those like her would be the colour, the richness of the blues, whether we're moving from maroon into burgundy, just like that there's everything is vivid. But if you are a regular, you can see that this mannequin has changed from a green velvet jacket to a brown tweed. And so yeah, I think as you were talking, Jason, the sense of that this is an area of London where you might actually see some vibrancy was what sprung out to me the most.
I love it. Thank you all, everyone. Well, Ms. Beaumont's shop is at hand. You can certainly go straight there if you wish. It's available and open to the public. Wild Rose, what do you want to do now that you're down at Savile Row?
I'm going to take one of the flowers that's been left out to disguise the smell. Not really looking to see if anyone's like, my flowers you are stealing. I'm just going to take one, pull the stem in half and pop it in her hair. She's got sort of dark brown hair that's sort of plaited in a neat, it's not a hanging down plait, it's been braided and then kind of swooped up, so it's sort of a hanging knot at the nape of her neck, and she's going to tuck the flower in slightly. And sort of do a half little like smudge of the muck on her face. And I think as we approach the shop is going to take off the big black duster and stash it like down behind a crate in an alleyway somewhere nearby the shop. And then as we get close is gonna switch from this sort of louche, casual, eyebrow cocked to something that's a little bit more trying to affect a slightly more perky personality. I know we've not really seen a lot of Wild Rose yet to sort of see the contrast, but there's the difference between just hold on one second there, Eva. Hair in the flower in the hair. All right, well, why don't you just show me some of these fabulous dresses you've been telling me all about?
Is all of this an attempt not to embarrass me?
Well, I don't want to stand out too much, and if I'm your wide-eyed and, slightly uncouth cousin from abroad, then perhaps we might be able to sell the facade somewhat more.
Well, just to try and keep those light fingers of yours in your pockets, and we'll get much further.
I don't know what you could possibly be talking about.
Let's go inside, shall we?
Eve, I will tell you that you have kind of some trouble getting to the shop because various shop owners and seamsters and seamstresses, tailors and seamstresses will come out when they see you and they'll say, Ms. Estrella, please come in. You have to see this fabulous new plum brocade we just got in. Oh, Ms. Estrella, like, they're just kind of going on and on, right? Like trying to get your attention, trying to get you to come like shop in their store because for you to be seen in the store would be like a big deal, right? How are you sort of managing that, Ms. Estrella?
I think these are the sorts of people that she could do without offending. So I think she would be like, Frederick, that sounds delightful. But I don't have time just now. I need to head straight in here with my cousin, who, as you can see, her clothes have been ruined on her journey. So we just need to just quickly head in here, where I think they'll have something her style, and I will come to you another day.
I love it. Just to memorialize this, Eve, I'm going to give you a condition called Toast of the Town.
Amazing.
So you'll just write that on your little section called conditions up top. And it might be a problem later. Who knows? We'll see. Ms. Beaumont.
A sudden change in face of like, oh yeah, oh no.
We'll see. We'll come back to the scene. This is fun. I'm going to cut away back over to Sir Richard's flat. Now, Mr. Hart, you're entitled to a clue, which you're going to get, but it's 7 to 9, which means there's a complication with the clue, either with the clue itself or something about the finding of it, right? Mm-hmm. And the complication, well, first of all, let's give you the clue. And if once I tell you what this is, if you want to just type it in the little clue section of the thread, that would be great.
Oh, in the threads, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But you're poking around and you find a letter not within the stacks of papers and things where all Sir Richard's correspondence and musings and ramblings are, but rather you find a letter that is on like his little bedstand right by a closet. And I think that probably makes it stand out, gives it importance, right? And the letter is a letter of apology from an apothecary. He notes that we don't have that particular plant in our collection. I'm very sorry, Sir Richard. Perhaps we could find a suitable replacement. This is your clue. This letter from this apothecary. Sir Richard was trying to do something or find something in particular. The complication is the closet door slowly opens and an enormous jaguar steps out of the closet.
It's one of those complications. Yeah.
The jaguar, you know, because you've been in the game for a long time, Mr. Hart, the jaguar is a Fey assassin, an assassin from the Fey court. How do you know that?
It's the eyes. they're. I think no matter what they do, their eyes they blink the opposite way round to mammals.
Like a
So you'd
cat's
expect
eye,
it up
yeah.
and down, and it's more like a lizard or a reptile that goes from side to side.
Ooh.
The jaguar reels back, clearly intending to spring upon you, this Fey assassin. I think we're going to do what's called the day move. The day move is one of our basic moves. It says when you do something risky or face something you fear, and I think we're probably in both situations here, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail right now or if you lose your nerve right now. What is the worst that could happen to you?
Um, that I'll lose somebody else in the room. Don't care about myself.
Oh, interesting. So, like maybe Jenny or even Granson might get attacked. Intriguing.
Yeah.
I like it. Um, it's going to attack you. So, do you want to fight back, or you want to run, or what do you want to do here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
The walking cane that we haven't
Oh yeah,
mentioned yet
yeah.
it was in the hand before I think I even seen the jaguar. It was
Knew
instinct.
it. Yeah.
Go ahead and roll with vitality.
It's my stat.
Oh.
Okay. Let me remind myself. I think it was a +2. Yes, it was. Here we go. Come on.
Come on.
That is more like that's it. I rolled an 8, so that's a 10.
Very
Yeah.
good. You will defeat the thing. Describe what you want that, or think about what you want that scene to look like. We'll come back to you in a moment. Granson, I think you're nowhere near this right now.
Yeah. No. 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 Thank God.
You and Jenny, you mentioned going outside maybe to get some air. So I think you and Jenny
Yes.
are kind of like on a little parapet or a little balcony or something outside,
Mm-hmm.
looking down into the street. And I owe you a clue. And she'll say, she'll she'll start to open up a little bit about um, she'll start to open up a little bit about Ms. Beaumont, actually, because recall, Ms.
Oh.
Beaumont was dating Sir Richard, right? So she would have known and seen Ms. Beaumont.
Mm.
And she says, Sir Richard wanted me to do some work for her, help her out. He didn't have much use for me. And so to prevent me from being bored, or I suppose, or to earn a little extra money, he thought I should go over to her shop and you just help her clean up and things. I don't know. I, well, I did for a time, but I had to stop.
Oh.
It, there were noises, you see,
Noises.
strange noises coming from the basement of the shop. They gave me a very, very queer feeling, and I made my apologies and told her that I wouldn't be able to come by anymore. She's a lovely woman, mind you, a bit odd, but
Odd in what way?
well, she wears quite a lot of clothing for someone who is this fashionable clothing designer and seamstress. She is a bit eccentric in her look, in my humble opinion. She wears dress upon dress upon dress, veil upon veil. She layers up. I mean, she's practically she looks like well, sometimes she's practically spherical the way she goes about with all of her layers. It's like she's trying to hide something.
But she was good spirits when you gave in your resignation. She wasn't sad or reacting.
She's always been very kind, and she was very, very. Sir Richard was head over heels for her, but I got a bad feeling. Interestingly, all this stuff she's telling you, that's not even your clue. That's just context.
No, I know. So I'm like,
going
yes, come on.
Yeah.
I
The
like
clue she
Granson.
gives
Granson
you.
doesn't gossip at all. She's just like, yes, and.
Right. The clue she gives you is she says, "Can I, well, you're going to think this is very strange,
Trust me, a lot of
but
things around here are strange.
ever since Sir Richard started to date Miss Beaumont, we've had infestations of moths
Moths.
every night. Moths just they coming in through the fireplace, through the windows. They land and get on everything they can get on, and it was a devil to try to keep the place clear of moth corpses. I don't know what that's about. That's your clue.
No, I'll take that. Moths. I think I would follow up by saying sort of like, so this started what, straight away when they started, or when did you notice it? How long has it been happening for?
At that point, she kind of takes your hand, or she kind of grabs you. She's a grabber. She grabs you when she's.
No, I'm used to this at this point.
Yeah, and she says, "There's that carriage again." And if you look down in the street, there's a carriage in the street, a grand carriage, an enormous thing with like gold detail, filigree, and like dark wood, like 4 horses. Like, it's not the kind of thing that normally you see in London. It's like something for the country or the queen. She says, "That carriage, I've seen it come by at least 3 times in the last few weeks. It just sits there. I don't know who it is or what they're doing."
Indeed. I guess from how far away is it from us? Is it like through some windows and stuff, or is it like, or?
I mean, you're looking right down.
Oh, we're on the balcony. Yes, apologies.
Yeah.
Can I see? Is there a driver? Is there a way into one of the windows? I can see who's watching.
I think if you go down to the ground floor, you probably can, if you want to do that.
Yeah, I'll be like, let us go to the kitchen. Maybe a good tea for Mr. Hart would be well deserved. And
indeed,
yeah, head on down.
Mr. Hart's got more on his mind than tea at the moment.
Sure he will. I'm sure it's fine.
We'll come back to this in a bit. Mm-hmm. So, Ms. Estrella and Ms. Fletcher, you do make your way into Hazel Beaumont's shop. Let's talk about it. It is the sort of thing where oddly enough, weirdly, no one works the front of house. There are just beautiful gowns, 6 every day, put on display on little pedestals all around. And if you want it, you come in and you put a bid. And if you win, it will be delivered to your home. The rumor is that Ms. Beaumont always knows your size, and so the dress arrives perfectly tailored to fit you, even if she never took your measurements. And as you go inside, I think, Ms. Estrella, normally when you walk into a room, everyone's eyes go to you. But right now, everyone's eyes are focused on these 6 dresses. You might as well just be somebody off the street. What are the 2 of you doing?
There's no one in this room at all. It's just the dresses.
There's shoppers, people looking at them, but there's no one like working. There's no one like selling or doing anything. Yeah. And there's a large sort of like plum-colored velvet curtain that bisects the space.
I want to clarify, the people who have gone missing, have they been a mix of male and female?
Yes.
Yeah. In here there is exclusively dresses, no suits.
There's a suit. I'll make that more clear. There are 4 gowns and 2 suits.
Sure. Great. Okay. What's your play, Miss Ava? I'm happy to go snooping, but if you want to do anything more subtle like, then...
This is a very strange place.
I agree. Far too much taffeta.
Ms. Estrella, someone actually like tugs at your sleeve and says, "Have you ever seen a more beautiful ball gown? I mean, my
Good God.
goodness, the fabric..."
Sorry, Jason. Go on.
No, it's great. This is just some
hands.
middle class lady who's like normally would be like stuttering and stumbling over themselves at your beauty, like because everyone does. But here it's this beautiful emerald gown, right? That has all the attention.
Well, um, I and she's just reeling and repulsed by humanity. Um, so try and get some words up. Well, I I suppose it is a slightly unusual shade, but I I'm not sure
I
it's for
don't think
me.
I've ever seen a more beautiful shade of green.
Well,
Although I have to say, your eyes, they very
oh,
nearly compare.
well, yes. I have been told they're unusual. Um,
You'll have to forgive Mrs. Stray's flustered nature. She's had quite the tough morning of suitors and fawners and
yes,
such
okay,
like. But
right, fine. Go and make yourself go have a look at the other dresses or make yourself useful. Have a look at the suit if you want. God damn it, just
oh, thank you for
and
your
just
permission to go investigate it.
yeah, fine. Um, and I think Evie's going to want to try and understand what the fuss is about with these particular garments, and she's got obviously an overwhelming entitlement to the point that if other people aren't touching this garment, she doesn't give a damn. She's so she's right up close. She's feeling this fabric. Um, so I think Rose was
I love it.
right.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I think
I
that's a
think
perfect
Rose was.
justification for searching. Yeah. Sorry, go
Um,
ahead. Finish. Yeah.
I was going to say I think Rose was right, even though she probably wouldn't want to be right about something as feminine as fabric. Um, that it is taffeta, but it is much softer than you would expect
Mm.
that to be ordinarily, and softer than it looks as well.
But still
Um,
holds its shape like taffeta, right? That's the
of
magic of
course,
it.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
And potentially, the closer Eve looks at it, the more strangely the green seems to behave, almost like it's got like an oil surface, light playing different shades situation going on. But she's
I
still
love
not
it.
into it, just to be clear.
It's not my thing, but
I'm going to give you the information move roll with, I would say, with actually sensitivity. The way you've described the supernatural aspects of the cloth, I'll let you roll with sensitivity.
Good, because she's not the best with uh, deduction and reading or anything. So sensitivity,
Yeah, so
I
roll
have a
two
plus
dice
one.
and then add one. Yeah.
Yeah. Just thought I should move the third dice out of my tray because
just in
she's
case.
privileged, but she's not that privileged, right? Um, I have five.
Plus one. Or is that five
Yeah.
total?
No,
Yeah, it's
no, six.
still a miss, regrettably.
Oh.
I think what happens here, I think what happens here is I think this scene becomes like more insulting to you, Ms. Estrella. There are people, men, who are like, excuse me, miss, if you could just step aside for a moment, trying to like look at the dresses, right? And and you find yourself very quickly almost like being like pushed to the periphery of what's going on here in the dress shop. And I'm going to give you another condition, a sort of opposite condition of your other condition, which is, in quotes, am I nothing special?
Oh my god.
Or I'll ask you this: how do you feel, Ms. Estrella? How do you feel to be
How do I
sidelined
feel?
by a dress?
Confused, horrified, bemused, and
Yeah, that's good.
nauseous.
Let's make the
Sorry,
condition. We'll keep the condition confused. I think that's good.
It's a roller coaster, I think, is happening in that Savile Row shop.
So much.
Yes,
Now
she's a lot.
you can mark a Janus mask if you don't want to deal with that condition, but otherwise it's not the worst outcome. It can be fun. It's up to you.
No, it's fine. I have another way of getting myself out of this horror. I don't know what you're talking about with this idea that that's not that bad. I don't get it.
Wild
so-
Rose, while Mrs. Straya is having existential nightmare, what are you doing?
Over a dress.
Oh, I'm going straight to that plush red curtain, and I'm having a peek behind it.
Yeah, do the information move with composure, since you're presumably doing it kind of sneaky.
I'd love to. Okay, that's an 8 total.
Very good. I'll give you a clue. Let me take a look at my clue list. See what you might see. Here's an interesting thing. When you look behind the curtain, you are at eye level with a shelf. And on the shelf, there is a severed hand with a wedding ring. That's your clue. If somebody wants to note that, that'd be very helpful. Mm-hmm. The complication with the clue is not so much a complication as just a odd thing to notice. There is in this little back room, there is like a little kind of spiraling staircase that goes down below the building. And you hear coming up from that staircase a sort of how does that make you feel?
Intrigued and slightly concerned.
Take a condition, intrigued and slightly concerned.
Yeah.
Shall do.
Oh.
How far away does this voice sound?
It's down below. Wherever the stairs go, that's where it's coming from.
Okay. This severed hand with a wedding ring. My short-term memory is just completely blank. Did you say it was in a jar, or is it just on the shelf?
It's just sitting there.
Great. I would like to try and take the wedding ring.
You can, yeah. Put it in your personal quarters, even. Now, here I should mention, we haven't really talked about what the personal quarters things do, but now's a good time to talk about it. So, if in a scene it would make sense for you to have something from your personal quarters on your person, then you do. And if you can narrate how you're using that thing in your action, you get to roll advantage on your dice. So you roll 3 dice and take the 2 highest. So that's kind of how that goes. So maybe start thinking about how you might use some things from your personal quarters to help give you advantage. That ring might be useful when you're parlaying with Ms. Beaumont in the future, say. So. But once you hear that noise and grab the ring, what do you do?
I think I'm going to lean out from behind the curtain and try and grab a glance at what Eva is doing.
What is Eve doing?
She manages to stop reeling for a moment, looks across the room, and she sees a young man, and she catches his eye she just shouts "you," and catches his eye, and he just will immediately come over to her. And
is he a worshiper?
Yes.
Oh, good. So the Undeniable has a move called Giveth, which you can basically just find worshipers in the scene.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that. That's great. I like it. We'll come back to this moment. Mr. Hart, please describe how you dispatch this Fey assassin.
Sure, I will. Before this, I see I have a move, um, a hunter's life, where
Mhm.
if I use my weapon to dispatch this thing, stuff happens. Can I use that, or is it too late?
Let's read what it says because I don't remember. Your entire life has been filled with lessons in slaying beasts, engaging in physical combat with a supernatural creature is always vitality, which it was. You also possess your hereditary weapon. Name the weapon added to your personal quarters. Okay, so you actually don't need to because you got a 10. Um, Unless you want to mark it in order to bump it up to a 12, because a 12 you get a little bonus on the roll. So
That's what I would
yeah,
like.
by all means, you can certainly do that.
And plus, I love ticking boxes.
Take a box. So it says when you use the weapon in physical combat with a supernatural creature, you can mark the box to describe how the weapon has been modified to be particularly effective against fey creatures. How so?
So, the hereditary weapon, which is called Requiem, by the way,
Oh my god,
is
amazing.
currently a sword cane, and inlaid within the thin blade within is various things, but one of the things inlaid is iron. Um, and it's like there's a single shot of iron that run down the center of it, perhaps to give it a lot more strength.
I love it. Go ahead and describe the scene of dispatching the um,
So,
fey assassin.
absolutely. This jaguar bursts out from the closet in a full kind of pounce. And if you were to slow this scene down, Jonas, who is still kind of hunched over and trying to put on the persona of a smaller man, just suddenly appears to have become twice the size and fill up twice the amount of space. And with a fairly neutral expression on his face, his arm kind of grabs this thing by the neck, flings it using its momentum across the other side of the room, and without pause, takes three long, purposeful steps over to it, unsheathing his sword cane, just runs it through with three steady motions into its guts. With the other hand, picks up an iron fire poker that he had his eye on from the moment he walked into that scene. Um, and because with sort of like as though he's speaking by rote, drives this poker up through the base of the jaguar's jaw, out the back of its skull, splitting the wall, pinning it there like one of the other maybe animal heads around the room, and you can't stop a heart, and just leaves it there, and just sags back down again to where he would usually be,
Fantastic.
wipes blood, sheath, and it just starts looking around the room like nothing's happened.
A hunter's life also says that you must narrate a flashback showing one of your ancestors destroying a creature of that type using that same weapon. Do that for me in a moment. Let's check in with Granson. Granson,
Mm.
you now have eye level with the carriage. You can see inside. You can't quite make out the details unless you get closer, and you certainly can.
Mm.
But there is someone, a woman, looking out the window, clearly looking up at the balcony, up at Sir Richard's flat. And there are lots of people, like hansom cabs are like piling up behind her, wanting to go. And she's like, just like, this carriage just takes up so much space and just stop there in the road, like just blocking traffic. This is a person who clearly doesn't care about the, the easy passage of London's thoroughfares. So, what do you do?
Good question. Yeah, sod it, I'll do it. I will. I'll be like, one moment. If you get the teas ready, I'll be right back. I will go out of the house, open the umbrella, and make my way straight over to the carriage, not stopping.
You can see the woman now much better. She's an older black woman, very middle-aged, but still very beautiful. And most strikingly, she has this choker necklace with a sapphire that is probably big enough to buy this whole block of buildings in value. And it just glimmers with this, it glimmers even with the dim light of the middle of the day in her being in a carriage, it still has a glimmer to it. And she looks down at you and gives you like a small knowing smile. What do you do?
I will sort of bow and say, "Apologies, my lady. Unfortunately, there's been a terrible accident here. We're not accepting any visitors today."
Miss Granson, I didn't realize you were in the employ of Sir Richard. I was led to believe that you were the functionary of Mr. Hart.
Indeed, I am. Mr. Hart is paying his respects and is helping with the sort of the cleanup. I don't know at this point.
She knows you. You don't know
behind
her.
us. Oh, I know her. Sorry.
No, you don't know her.
Oh, I don't know her.
knows you, but she knows you, but
Yes.
you do not know her.
Yes.
And she says, "How very interesting that Hargrave House is here investigating the death of Sir Richard. Have you stumbled across anything of note?"
Well, if you know of Hargrave House, you'll know that our investigations are private for now. Apologies, I didn't catch your name, lady.
No, you did not. Well, this has been enlivening. Do give my regards to Mr. Hart and to Ms. Astrea as well. And she slides the curtain. And as she slides the curtain back, you think that even for just a moment, you can still see that blue glimmer of her sapphire. And the carriage drives on.
I don't suppose it's not one of those carriages that has like a license plate or anything like that. It sounds like quite a rich carriage, so it doesn't have.
It is. It's not registered with the city or anything.
I was like, darn. Yeah, I watch it leave, and then as soon as it turns the corner, I head back into the house.
Let's cut back over to the shop. Wild Rose, are you gonna go? Are you done here? You swiped the ring.
I'm going down. I was checking to see what Eve was doing. Oh, she's busy.
Going down the stairs, I think it's going to trigger the day move, except it's going to trigger the night move. Even though this is daytime, you are going straight into the maw of something very bad indeed. And so I shall.
Bad? Spoilers?
The night move says when you do something risky or face something you fear, in this case, I'm going to say face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you lose your nerve.
The curse will trigger.
Of that. And now I have to say how it's worse than that. The curse will trigger and you will attack Ms. Astrea. Do you wish to proceed?
Yeah, I can't roll and then decide, can I, with the night move?
No, not even going to decide right now.
Can I tweak it so I don't go down, but I stand at the top of the stairs? And I mean, this noise is strange, but it could be conceived as in pain or in needing of help. So maybe call down instead, but using
in that case, I'll give you the information move instead.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll with,
I mean, there's no one else here. It feels a little risky this early in the game, maybe. As much as I like to poke the bear.
Roll the information move with composure and see how it goes.
Oh, that's an 11.
Ooh.
Good. I'll give you a clue in a moment. Ms. Astrea, per the move of Giveth, It says, this is one of my favorite of the moves I wrote. At any time, you can declare that a side character, which is just any other character, is secretly one of your worshippers. Describe how the side character subtly or not so subtly debases themselves before you in the scene, and then scar your reflection.
Okay, so how he debases himself. Okay, so he comes over to me, and he starts to bow. As he rises from his bow, it becomes apparent that he's removed the blindfold from over his left eye to show a really hideous scar across his eye, and then over the skin around his eye socket, and an empty socket.
Oh, so he does that when you
So
say, yeah.
I think I'd probably just he blinks at him twice and says, "Very good. Okay.
I can't believe
Uh,
I'm here in your presence, ma'am. This is this is more than I could have hoped for.
I know, I know. So I would like you to do something for me. I would like you
Anything,
to
speak it.
um the 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 gown over there with the green and with the lace gloves. I need you to
A
bring
shade
me
of
those
green that can't
gloves.
possibly compare with your eyes.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yes, yes. Um, the lace gloves that are with the pearl buttons. You see those?
Yes,
Um, I need those.
certainly, anything. For a small task like that, he'll just do it. For a
Yeah.
more over the top task, you can give him something for your personal quarters, but this I'll
Yeah,
give you for free.
I don't think he
Yeah,
needs any of my stuff for this.
yeah.
It's just theft.
I'll give you this for free. He'll do that. I think there's no one to stop him because like there's like no workers. And so he just will like kind of go up and he actually like kind of gets a little like pushy with somebody who's looking at them. He's like, excuse me, and like pushes them out of the way and then pulls the gloves off and um tremblingly gives them over to you. Are you searching the gloves as a way of finding clues or
No, I'm
are you just
pocketing
keeping
those.
them?
Yeah. So I think she will just turn around and leave the shop now. I think it's possible that Eve has entirely forgotten why she's here.
Yes, indeed. They're
It's
beautiful
not
gloves.
it's not that she's daft, it's just that it's been a really intense morning.
Now you have to
Um,
scar your reflection. What this,
mhm.
and here's where we get to learn a little bit more about the undeniable. You, somewhere in London, hidden from the world, is a masterwork created in your image or otherwise inspired by your beauty. It is guarded by a cult dedicated to your worship. What is it?
It is an oil painting.
Very good. How do your worshippers demonstrate they are unworthy to look upon it?
Um, they cover their left eye all the
Mm,
time. The most dedicated will permanently blind themselves in their left eye.
very good. The masterwork will gradually degrade so you can remain young and beautiful and will bear the scars that your evil acts would otherwise leave on your soul. You've scarred the reflection. Please describe how the masterwork is changing for the worse.
Um, so in this portrait, Eve is just sat with her hands in her lap, and they are not gloved in the painting. But what happens this time is that there is sudden, very noticeable aging on the hands. So the skin softens, the veins are more raised, there are age spots. They're still more beautiful than all of your hands, just to be 100% clear on
Of
that,
course.
but they're monstrous in comparison to um, what they were before.
Love it. We're going to start winding up the day phase here. So, Ms. Fletcher, I owe you a clue if I'm not mistaken. Um, what was your die result? Remind me.
It was an 11 total. She's just leaning over the railing of
Very good.
this stairwell down and going, "Hello, can I help you? Are you all right down there?"
Here's what you get as your clue. There's no response, but you'll notice something on the top of the stairs. A sealed jar containing spider husks, bundled herbs, and a patch of human skin. If someone will note that for me in the threat, that would be lovely.
Can I
Mr. Hart.
immediately
Oh, so good. Yeah.
can I immediately tell from looking at the stuff inside like what the herbs are? Do they look distinctive or is it like they've been chopped up real small?
I would probably save that as context for whenever you get ready to theorize. You can like say, or whenever you get ready to answer a question, you can define what the herbs were to help your
Cool.
cause, to
I
make your
guess
case.
the line of
Yeah.
thought is we don't have to define what the herbs are, but if I can tell what they are, I don't
Yeah.
need to take the jar.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If I
Oh,
can't
got it.
tell
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
the contents,
Oh,
the
I
nature of
see.
the contents, I might swipe it as well.
I would say that it is. I would say it's a variety of herbs and various clippings and things. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like,
Poisonous ones, nightshade,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
that kind of thing.
I'll just make a
Maybe
mental note and then
tomato
I'll
plant. Yeah.
that poisonous tomato.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a mental note and then I'll slip out, go get my duster.
Very good. We'll wrap up the day phase here with Mr. Hart. Please give us the flashback of the first time a Hart used the weapon to destroy a Fey creature.
Certainly. So this scene takes place in the Palace of Versailles, um, in a huge, lavish ball. There are dozens of partners spinning and rotating around an incredible golden ballroom with an incredible piece of music that they're waltzing to. And to the casual observer, it is the height and pomp of Versailles and a load of obscenely rich people dancing the night away. But in the midst of this, a subtle but no less deadly duel is taking place. Jonas's great, however many grandmother in a gorgeous gown is dancing with the most beautiful man in the room, and they spin. Their eyes are locked into each other, and small moves are being made. There's no sword cane in sight, but if you were to look closer, you would see the flash and movement of a razor thin rapier being wielded by his mother, and a similar weapon being wielded by this Fae. And it is a dance and a duel. And as the music builds and the dance becomes to a crescendo, and the musicians play the final drawn out note, suddenly whatever has been going on, Jonas's grandmother has got the upper hand, does a final turn, and a thin red line is drawn across the throat of this Fae, and she says, "You'll never stop a heart." Turns and leaves as the music ends, and this Fae's head falls off, and a great fountain of blood in the middle of this ballroom leaps up, showering all the dancers, and she makes a exit within the cacophony that causes.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Before we leave the day phase, Ms. Estrella, you can note that that worshiper is called Jonathan, and you can call on him whatever you want. So.
Thank you.
The dusk phase is the next phase. This is just a little preparation phase for the night. So let's, if you want to follow along with the phases, on the very far left of the sheet, it looks like it's hidden. Let me unhide it. On the very far left of the sheet, there is there's a tracker there normally. I don't know where it's at, but we'll just go through it. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we have to do is actually, I'm going to have to pull up the rules because I don't remember offhand.
What?
I promise I wrote this game. Yeah. I absolutely wrote this game. I know I did.
If it's okay if I ask a mechanics question, then Jason.
Sure, yeah. Please do.
So obviously both myself and Jonas, we ticked off the masks, the Janus masks. But does that come later then?
You can always do it during the dusk or the dawn phase. So
good to know.
yeah, so you'll have your moment here if you wish in a minute.
No, I just out of interest. So thank you.
So for the dusk phase, we resolve any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during the dusk phase. I don't think we have any right now that are active. And now I'm going to pose a paint the scene question about Hargrave House itself. And so Hargrave House is a character in the story, much like London is a character. Hargrave House is a character as well. And this is our opportunity to learn a little bit about Hargrave House. And so we assume that the characters all get back together before the night phase to chat about what they discovered. You share all your information, all that stuff happens. Show off your new gloves, whatever. And and that conversation is going to be happening in the trophy room. The question for the trophy room: there were hunters living in Hargrave House before you. We've established that. Trophies from their encounters with the supernatural can be found in the trophy room. Describe one.
It's just like a really long tooth. like it's a good 15 centimeter, but longer needle-like rather than a big dinosaur style tooth.
I think it's quite a cool visual. The scalp of a gorgon. So it's just the scalp and then a lot of dead snakes.
That is really cool. I think on one of the many small tables that are almost that you would put a drink on, there is a bell jar, and in the bell jar is completely just filling it is just a gas of some sort where it's sort of moving around constantly, almost like a really angry storm cloud, and it's intense. It actually feels very cold if you sit next to it, so nobody takes that seat next to the bell jar storm.
Is that everyone? Or no, Helen?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is so there is a frame on the wall, and there is there's a not a full neat piece, but like a scrap of paper inside, and there's an etching of just what looks like a domestic cat, but underneath it is clearly language. It's writing, but it's not in lettering that we can read.
Love it. I misspoke earlier. We do have a move to resolve right now, which is the quickening, which is the Americans' principal move here. You live with a curse, Wild Rose, a curse that causes you to become savage, even feral, to the point where your body physically changes. At the start of the dusk phase, please roll with composure or sensitivity, your choice. I am also going to... No, I don't think your conditions actually really affect it. So just your choice, composure or sensitivity.
Am I still intrigued and slightly concerned for Amelia?
You are indeed still that.
but not about this.
Yeah, just in general, a general sort of intrigue and concern.
Oh, life. I would like to roll with composure, please, and not sensitivity.
Go with it. Go for it.
Oh, okay. That's a 9 on the dice. That's 10 total.
Okay, so it says on a 10 plus, your body is stronger and faster, and you manage to keep the quickening in check. You roll with advantage when taking actions that use vitality until basically until the next morning. So
Nice.
bear that in mind. And I think now that's the only desk move. All right, let's keep going. We talked about Hargrave House. Here we go around the table and everyone says what they want to do during this night phase. Now, bear in mind the night phase, a couple of things. It's really fast. So like it's just like a one scene for each person total, basically. And you may not get to do what you want to do because the night belongs to me. But I want to hear your thoughts nevertheless. And so everyone gets to say what they would like to do. And if anybody wants to revise their idea after everyone speaks, you can do that. Importantly, there's no discussion. You just say what you want to do. I will say that we have this Midsummer Masquerade that's happening tonight, which we know that Ms. Beaumont has been commissioned by some of the attendees to make dresses for. But there are other avenues of investigation too. This might be a great time to go check out the shop now that it's closed, right? Like actually go down there when no one's around. So although it's unclear if anybody was around before, but you know, a little bit of breaking and entering never hurt anybody. But yeah, it's pretty wide open. You can kind of do whatever you want to do, but the Midsummer Masquerade is the thing that's happening tonight. Mr. Hart, what do you want to do tonight?
Torn. I having been told about this spooky cellar, balls not my deal. Spooky cellars, that's where you can find a heart. So I think I'll take you up on that and go, back to the shop and see what's down there.
I love that. Granson, are you gonna break away this time? You can always appear when you need to.
Yes, no, because I do have a move that makes me do that, which I quite like. I think actually I am going to. Sorry, just looking up the name of it. I think I know you said there's this ball happening, but actually I think I'm gonna go investigate this Blue Feather Society. If they have a gathering tonight, I might go along to a talk and sit there with my umbrella and see what's going on.
Miss Fletcher?
Yeah, I'm torn. I want to go back and investigate the spooky cellar with backup. But I also kind of want to go to the ball, not as a guest, but to see, now that we know the kind of the style of the dresses that the Ms. Beaumont has created, I wanted to go and tail anyone who might be wearing one of those dresses to the ball, to sit like on the off chance that if something happens, I can try and help them.
Yeah, I love it. Miss Estrella, I imagine you would be expected at something called the Midsummer Masquerade, but maybe not.
Yes, lace accessories are already laid out on the dressing table.
Very good. Fantastic. That sounds like a plan then. And at this point, anybody who has marked their Janus mask who needs to still do what it says can do so now, or you can wait until the dawn phase.
I think I will wait till the dawn phase for mine, because I've marked just for the stream. I've marked the first one of the Masks of the Past for my one, because I don't think I clarified that earlier.
I'll narrate. I've had a good time to think of mine. So I've got the narrator flashback to your childhood that shows the first hunt you went on, and what about it disturbed you. So the first hunt Jonas went on, I think he was maybe 11, 12. Far too young, but that's probably an improvement in the world of the hearts. They've probably decided to let them get a little bit older in these more modern, enlightened times. And the way the hearts worked was you survive or you die. If you die, you're not a heart. So having taken the requisite training, a suitable target was sought out, which was that of a vampire that was hauled up in a house somewhere in London. And Jonas was driven up to it in a coach, put outside of the coach, and told to return to Hargrave House when it was done. And the reason this hunt disturbed Jonas so much was that, despite them needing to make sure he was ready, they weren't going to put him up against an ages-old vampire. And there had been a spout of pretty sick vampire that was turning children all across the city, and they had found one of the children he had turned. And so his first hunt was basically hunting down a child of similar age to him and driving a stake through its heart.
Thank you. And now I shall introduce the unseen. Now, this is a strange thing. There's nothing like it in role-playing games, I'm proud to say. The unseen is a scene that takes place at the same time, the same night as what you're all doing in London. It has no connection whatsoever to the story. It is just a thing happening on the same night. It's an attempt to kind of show London as a huge metropolis, the biggest in the world at this point, right? But that doesn't mean it's not important. It's important because what we try to do with the unseen as we're narrating it is we try to make thematic or sensory connections between the unseen and your Hargrave House scenes, right, during the hunter scenes. And so I like to give an example. If, for example, in the unseen, we narrate a sex worker dying of consumption, and we describe that person coughing up vivid red blood into a bowl, you might then describe at the Midsummer Masquerade a wide bowl with beautiful red flowers in it, right? That's the connection between the two of them. Those connections are called echoes in the night, and you get an experience point at the end of the game if you do this. So if you're able to make that connection, you can make the connection in either direction. So you can narrate something into the unseen that is reflective of something that's happened in the main scene, or vice versa. And so that's sort of, it's kind of tricky to get the handle of, but once you do, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to introduce the unseen. You can follow along on the tab that says London at Night, the unseen. We're going to be doing, I try not to think about too much. I like to just kind of randomly pick them. We're going to be doing Brown's Hotel. That is on line 21, the second one over. Oh. I'll highlight it red so you can see.
Got it.
None of the 117 rooms at Brown's Hotel on Albemarle Street are the same, though they each have housed some of the most fashionable people you'll find in London or anywhere. A concierge, Teddy Miller, delights in spying on the hotel's posh clientele. Now we have 4 prompts here. I'm going to assign them to each of you. Fiona, you have prompt 1.
Okay.
Nat, you can have prompt 2. We'll give prompt 3 to Helen. And prompt 4 will be for Strat. We're going to take a quick break and think about your prompt on your break so you are ready to speak to it. And so, yeah, maybe like 3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right. We'll get thinking. Yeah, thanks for still watching, folks. Come back in 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, team, we're back and we're ready for our prompts and stuff. So I'll hand it back over to Jason.
Brown's Hotel. Fiona, Teddy puts his ear up against the door of a wealthy young bachelor. What does he hear that makes him desperately want the life of this young bachelor?
Ooh. So again, if you can imagine sort of the way sort of listens at the door, it sort of goes through the wall, and you see basically a party going on. There are beautiful people wearing getting in the process of getting unchanged and undressed, and you see there are easels around, and it's almost like artists like painting and just being frivolous, and people are painting each other and stuff. And it's just that the joy and the freedom, even behind closed doors, just to be themselves and not worry about what they're wearing and who's who and everything. You see sort of, you know, and at the centre of it, you see the young bachelor, the person that's sort of in charge of it, sort of looking around, laughing, enjoying it, and like enjoying this party that they have created, and not caring for the noise level or anything like that. It's just that moment of happiness, and I think that's what Teddy wants more than anything, is this tender happiness that he cannot have because he is on the outside, this sort of public-facing figure, whilst on the inside, people are having fun.
Thank you. The Midsummer Masquerade is being held in, I don't know where, the ballroom's not important, but some ballroom. There are dazzling mirrored lanterns. Outside of the ballroom, there's a maze of statuary and potted plants. A swirling throng of costumed revelers dance with masks on, and they'll dance until midnight or later. Let's paint the scene here. It's just for Ms. Estrella, though. Guests travel from afar to attend this event each year, each one more beautiful than the last. Ms. Estrella, what love interest or old acquaintance do you hope to meet here by chance?
Wow. Oh, I'm not muted. Wonderful. Okay. So, so there was a friend a few years ago, a a young girl. She was slight and blonde, and always smelled of lavender. So if the scent of lavender is anywhere in the room, it will immediately have Eve turning her head.
I love it. Wild Rose, you're at the masquerade. Did you dress up for the occasion?
Yeah, I think she made a little bit of effort. The outfit is much the same, but there's a formal jacket over the top over the shirt. She's still got the little bolo tie with the lapis lazuli, and it is a masked ball. So she managed to find a molded leather mask of hair with the long rabbit ears coming off. She's she's sort of hanging around the outside, watching the dancers, smoking a cigarette, and just keeping a beady eye on everything, kind of rolling it between her fingers more than she is smoking it at the moment.
Wild Rose, there is a young socialite, Ms. Sylvia Belrose, statuesque, in corset and shawl, and not much else. Extravagant jewelry, heavy eyeshadow, although you can't really see it with the mask so much. A silver cigarette holder posed dramatically. She is sort of, well, until Ms. Estrella walks in, she's sort of the life of the party, right? She's sort of there, she's being focused on. She might even be the person that Ms. Estrella remembers, the old acquaintance, possibly. She's blonde, lavender, I won't confirm yet or not. But you notice something else too. A pair of women wearing nothing but heavy black full-length veils, black lacy veils over them. They follow this young socialite, Ms. Belrose. She goes outside to get some air, and they follow her. Now, they look strange, but it's a masquerade, so I don't know. But what makes it really stand out is they float when they walk. There's no apparent footsteps. They just sort of glide over to
Do they look
behind
like
Ms. Belrose.
Do they look like they're following her, and she knows about it, and they're part of her coterie, or they sneakily following her?
They're definitely not part of her coterie. They're like I don't know how sneaky they're being, but
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah,
with
yeah,
her. Yeah.
sure. Fine.
Ms. Estrella, are you, well, first of all, Wild Rose, are you going to follow them or?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. I'm gonna head outside. Not as if I'm following them in a sneaky way. I'm gonna head outside with purpose to smoke my cigarette and end up leaning next
I love it.
to
Yeah.
Ms. Belrose. But if you wanted to do Eve's scene first, that's fine.
Oh no, that's perfect. Thank you. Ms. Estrella, you do smell lavender. Do you follow your nose?
Um, I think that would be too vulnerable a move.
Okay.
Um, so I think she will continue her attempts to circulate the room and ensure that she's been seen with Jonathan on
It's
one
Jonathan
arm
Toe.
and
Hold him with you.
and someone and another young man on the other arm. Yeah, and they may need to sort of like try and help make a way so I can actually
Yeah,
get around and make sure that everybody has seen that I'm there.
I love it.
Um,
We're gonna talk about what you're wearing in a minute, but first I want to go over to Granson. Granson, you're at the Blue Feather Society. They are having a meeting. This is a society of people who study the supernatural, the occult, things like that. You have a very, very well researched book about such things. You are also in the employ of someone who is very dedicated to these sorts of things. Tell me, what are they getting totally wrong right now?
Oh God, it's terrible. Honestly, I think the thing that it grates because I think Granson keeps a stiff upper lip and doesn't like let anything away, but you can definitely see her eye twitch at the pronunciations of certain things, and they just wildly inaccurate, adding random umlauts and apostrophes where there doesn't need to be any. Maybe if there's like leaflets or like bills of like what the presentation is, and looking down, you can see definitely on Granson's one there is like lots of crossing outs and like spelling mistakes, and so is changing that as they go to basically fuel that sort of venting of the misinformation that is being strewed around, mostly about the pronunciations of the various names and stuff. The theory is not so much. I think she's more. She's okay with the misinformation a little bit because then it means they're off the wrong track whilst Hargrave House does the real work. So she's not too fussed about it, but the pronunciations is like, how could you get it so wrong? You know.
I love it. Thank you. Mr. Hart, I haven't told you to do so, so do so now. Mark an X on your hunt for the way you dispatched the Fey assassin.
X. Okie dokie.
But
Done.
sneaking into a shop under cover of night, that's definitely O behavior. So mark an O as well.
Oh no.
Okay, okay.
But you get into the shop, no trouble. That's no difficulty at all. You
great.
are in the back of the house. You see the stairs going down. It's dark. What do you do?
Unsheath Requiem. And very slowly, being careful to listen for every creak of floorboard, move down the stairs into the darkness, allowing my eyes to become accustomed to it.
I love it. Let's return to Brown's Hotel. Nat, Teddy, our nosy concierge, rummages through the personal effects of an actress staying at the hotel while she's out. What does he find that makes him desire her or desire to be her?
So I think as he's nosing around her dressing table, he comes across this small enamel powder pot that's got fish laid into it, like golden koi carps swirling around. And as he lifts it, there's that shade of rouge that only actresses and ladies of the night would use. Polite society ladies would never dare. Pinch, darling. And he just dips the tiniest bit on his ring finger, and just a little dab of color either side, and then replaces the lid and smears it off again.
Love it. Miss Fletcher, you go out to the garden where Miss Belrose has moved, and indeed these two stalkers that are following Miss Belrose. And Miss Belrose already has like a group of people around her, and she's chatting and going on. You kind of catch her mid-conversation. I mean, he hadn't even heard of the symbolists. Can you even imagine? I said, darling, if it doesn't have the power to utterly consume me, body and soul, what's the point? Meanwhile, these two strange women are there just watching. What do you do?
I'm going to walk up to the group nearby. I'm picturing the sort of not the balcony, that sort of courtyard outside that's got this stone balustrade along, and there, which overlooks a grand lawn that's got various sort of torchlights in various places that you can't stray too far from, because that would be inappropriate tryst territory. But as long as you're on the stone forecourt, you're fine. I'll lean against the balustrade nearby, and I'm just trying to. My brain has immediately, short-term memory, forgotten exactly what she just said.
Something about the symbolists and being consumed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what is it that does consume the body and soul of the inestimable Miss Belrose?
And she looks at you and she says, well, I hope it's you.
I hoped you might have said that. Care to dance?
I would love that. And she kind of parts the crowd. She's taller than you. How does that make you feel?
I'm not too bothered. That's fine. I'm used to people being taller, shorter.
Ms. Estrella, you and Jonathan are approached by someone who you know, a playwright, Mr. Orrin Blackwood. He has a magnificent nest of feathery hair, bright silk vests, ink-stained fingers always. He's not even wearing a mask. And he comes up to you and he says, Ms. Estrella, what are the chances of someone like you being somewhere like here?
Oh, well, if it is a place to be, then I will be there. The question is, who let you in?
Please, Ms. Estrella, this is well timed. I have a work that is in progress. It's a fantastic piece about, well, it's about myth. It's about the gods and goddesses. And, well, I hope you don't think me too forward, but I've based one of the characters on you.
Oh, well, that might have been very kind of you, but I suppose that depends who the character is and what are they doing?
Might we perhaps tomorrow or the next day or the next day or even the next day, might we have coffee so that I can pick your brain and really understand the essence of you, Mrs. Estrella? I think it will help the words.
You could try and stop by the house at some point next week, but I don't know my schedule. I can't guarantee I'll be around. You're welcome to try.
You will notice, Mrs. Estrella, that the silk vest he's wearing has that strange shimmer to it, like the dress did.
That is
You'll also notice, not to cut you off, you will also notice, you will notice the blonde that you had hoped would be here currently dancing with Wild Rose Fletcher.
Oh no!
Let's cut over to Mr. Hart. No, actually, grandson. Grandson. Ms. Abigail Walker, the head of the Blue Feather Society, she comes up to you after on tea break or whatever. And let's pull her up, see what she's all about. I think she's a character. Tightly bound hair, stiff posture, a very severe expression, looking over tiny spectacles. And she's smoking a Blackbriar calabash pipe. She comes up to you and she says, I don't think I've ever seen you at meetings of the Society before.
No, I am. This is my first time. Grandson. I wanted to. I was quite looking forward to. Currently forgotten his name. That's not very good.
Sir Richard.
I was looking forward to Sir Richard's thing, but unfortunately, it seems I was too late. But I thought I would come and see what your society was all about.
Now the thing is, you actually, you may not know her, but Hargrave House does. She's the one who brought this case to Hargrave House.
Okay.
So she does not actually know you because you're just a servant. But
yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. But you will know her for sure.
Yes.
She says, oh, so then you haven't heard then?
Heard what?
Well, poor Sir Richard. They found him dead.
What a terrible shame. What a loss to our community.
Hollowed out. Like a gourd.
I see. I don't suppose, and I'll look round the, presumably...
It's utterly fascinating.
Yes, it's, sorry, hollowed out in what way? I will lean in close and see if she's got any other details that we don't know about in any reports and stuff, anything that's not been
We'll come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Hart, you go downstairs. I'm not going to make you roll because you already kind of are ready to do this, whereas Miss Fletcher kind of stumbled onto it. You go downstairs carefully, quietly, earning your O. You get down there, and in fact, this space is lit by dozens of lamps hanging from the ceiling. They're flickering lights, almost trying to escape this cellar area, but they can't because they don't even penetrate up to the top. They're only lit when you go down there. Shelves overflow with cascading bolts of expensive cloth. Walls are overgrown with grasping vines and withered flowers. Suits and gowns of exquisite craftsmanship line the room, connected by faint silvery thread. Suits and gowns of exquisite craftsmanship line the room, and connected by faint silvery thread and frozen in uncanny human gestures are mannequins. But they are bodies, not mannequins. Paint the scene, everyone. The bodies dressed and preserved here have been arranged with obsessive attention to detail. How does their presentation mimic the setting of a fey court?
I think several of them are sat around a table in a sort of grotesque mimic of a feast of indulgence.
I think there's been slight disfigurements made to the bodies to make them seem more fey, in that there's perhaps some of that silvery thread has been used to make the eyebrows sort of longer, or the ears have been carved into points, or the fingernails have unusually grown long.
I think, as it is a court, in such a way, there of course has to be a throne of some sort, but there isn't. It is more, that particular mannequin is obviously created in such a way, again, that sort of disfigurement, where they look like they're doing a terrible sort of squat, frozen, arms sort of like stuck in a place as if they are sitting but with no chair there whatsoever, and on their head just a simple ribbon tied with a bow at the back, a black ribbon, to signify a crown.
Okay, so there's another figure that would be playing a harp, as like a smaller harp, willing to receive feedback about what the actual name of this small harp situation is. But it's cool. As long as we all know where I'm at, that's okay.
It's small harp. We got it.
Yeah.
Small harp. But the it's made of bone to make the frame, and then the strings are I'm not precisely sure, but they're clearly sort of bodily,
like sinew or something.
Like gut.
yeah.
Entrails.
Yeah, I'll take anything, whether we want to go with I feel intestines a bit wide, but there's something.
Well, dried out, they would be quite, thin. So yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. Thank you for helping me draw that
Don't ask me
disgusting
why I know
picture.
this. There's no particular reason why I know that.
This is a safe space, right? This and Twitch, and we're all good.
Yeah, we won't investigate that any further, Jason. Don't worry.
Thank you. Back to Brown's Hotel. Helen, Teddy, our concierge, draws a hot bath for a pair of good-looking young men staying in the same room. In what ways does Teddy help bring the erotic subtext of this bath to the fore?
So, the bath has been so he scented the bath and the room with lavender and rose oils. There's so it's got so there's that heady scent. There's a couple of lanterns lit, and there's a small posy of carnations and violets on one of the bedside tables.
Lovely, thank you. Well, the party's in full swing. Wild Rose is dancing with this beautiful, attractive young woman. Mrs. Straya, the young woman you hope to run into. The obnoxious Mr. Blackwood is trying to get you to agree to a meeting with him. Jonathan is just happy to be here.
So true.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
So what's happening? Like, are you going to respond to that? Or Wild Rose, what are you doing? What's happening here?
Go on, Matt.
While we're dancing, I would like to just clock, if I can, the two women in the lacy veils. What have they done? Have they followed us in? Are they on the edge of the dance floor? What are they doing?
They have gone up to the balcony. You don't even remember seeing them move there. They're just there. And they're watching down below by themselves. And I'm going to give you a condition, Wild Rose, called Marked by the Sisters Sandula.
Oh no.
Oh, that does not sound good.
Yeah, that's not confused and intrigued.
Marked in a positive way.
Yeah, toast of the town or something.
They're gonna buy me an ice cream later.
Marked as a wonderful dancer.
Yeah.
But how do you know that? How do you know their attention is focused on you now?
As opposed to Sylvia's.
Yes, I mean, because they're wearing veils, you can't see their faces, but you just know. How do you know?
I think there's one of my tattoos that is itching. And it's a spider web.
Oh, good. Good. Mrs. Straya, what are you doing right now?
So I think she spotted the two things simultaneously, as you helpfully described. She's really inconvenienced. But anyway, so I think this time she does seem to actually be a bit closer to keeping her mind on the exercise at hand. And so she asks Oren, am I saying the name correctly? Mr. Blackwood.
Yes, Oren, yeah.
That's a rather unusual garment you're wearing. Where did you get that shirt?
Make the information move with presence.
Okay. I've got 6 on my dice, and and I have 2 presents, so that puts me at 8.
Very good. We'll come back to this. I'll give you a clue in a bit.
Okay.
The grandson,
Hmm.
Ms. Walker, um, she kind of mentioned that like Sir Richard was killed. And then what did you say?
I was trying to find out more information about, like, if there's any other
Oh, there's a detail
details.
that she left out. Yeah, or something
Yeah.
she recalls. Yeah, that's good.
Mm.
Make the information move with, I would say, presence. Yeah.
Okey-dokey.
Unless there's some subterfuge here. Otherwise, it's composure. But if there's not,
I think
presence is
I think
fine.
I think yes, I would, because I've not been recognised, and I'm deliberately sort of, again, not saying that
Right.
I'm part of the,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I just thought
Yeah.
maybe
That's a
concerned
composure
of it.
then. Yeah, I think composure is probably the right one then.
Yeah. That is in total with the +1. That's a 9 in total.
Okay. We'll come back to that at the end. Mr. Hart, you're down in the cellar with this elaborate, horrifying scene that's been described. What do you do? How are you feeling, first of all?
I'm feeling uneasy, which is saying a lot for a heart that's seen a lot during their lives. This is this is starting to get interesting. Um, so I'm gonna carefully walk forwards, careful not to try and knock into any stray webbing. And I want to check to see if everybody's actually dead.
Make the information move with
I will.
composure.
Okay.
I would make anyone else roll the night move, but because you are a monster hunter, I'm giving the benefit of that.
That's very kind of you. So that is a 6, 7, 8, 9 on the dice. That's a 10.
Oh.
Very good. Let's check back in with our final stop at Brown's Hotel. Strat, Teddy returns to his tiny, dingy flat in East London. What do we see in Teddy's apartment that shows how he tries to incorporate bits of glamour into his dull grey life?
So Teddy hasn't left everything that he's rummaged through at the hotel, but he's very careful with what he takes. The last thing he'd want to do is be found out and fired from this place that is his life. So it's things that people wouldn't go missing: a hat pin, sort of a box of matches from a fancy club or gentleman's club or spot, an empty packet of cigars that he would never be able to afford, rubbish to the clientele, and he's also those are scattered around the room, and also pinned to the wall are cuttings from newspapers and society papers of illustrations of balls with people in dresses, and there's one particular one that's in pride of place above his bed of a gentleman and a lady dancing and fireworks in the background, and he has delicately coloured certain sections in with whatever pigments he can find. Again, if you looked at it, it would be dirt rubbed on it, but to him, it's helping bring some of this vibrancy out, and he's made the fireworks exploding above this dancing couple a vivid red.
I love it. I'm going to do a echo in the night and say that the ball concludes with a fireworks display outside. Kind of hear the popping and the sizzling and the light kind of coming into the dance floor. And Sylvia sort of like, she's very drunk on you, Wild Rose. She's never met an American before, especially one like you.
And I don't blame her.
And she says, "What are you doing tomorrow?"
I don't know, you tell me.
"How about breakfast at my place?"
Breakfast seems like a very long time away, doesn't it?
Well, perhaps we can find a way to pass the time. And before you know it, Breakfast will be waiting right outside our door.
Now that sounds delightful. You know, where I'm from, we hear all sorts of stories of enchanting creatures. Some nearly as enchanting as yourself. One of which I heard about was this beautiful woman who could enrapture anyone just by the mere glance to the side. Silken blonde hair, waft of lavender about her. And it turned out that underneath it all, and now I would never dream of casting aspersions on you, Miss Belrose. I know the real deal when I see it. But you see here, this woman back in the States, cousin of mine, one of their friends encountered her and said that it was all down to the clothes you wear. The outfit actually sells the person more than the skin, the hair, the appearance. Turned out that it was the dress rather than the person that was enchanting. I don't suppose you know anything. That doesn't sound familiar at all to you, does it? I'm trying to pull off the Tall Tales move here.
Oh, I like it. That's good. Yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, I didn't realize that's what you were angling for, but it makes sense now. Let's read it. It says Tall Tales. When you tell a story from back home that's wildly unbelievable in order to charm someone, roll with presence.
I was fully charmed by that.
Yeah,
so
me too. Get in line.
Me and Fiona are like,
yes.
We're
queuing. We're queuing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was a 5 on the dice. That's only a 6 total.
Oh.
I might put on a mask to resist it, just because story-wise, I think it's more interesting.
Well, I will tell you what would have happened if you didn't.
Okay.
What would have happened if you didn't is that I think you would have found her strung up by silver threads by the end of the night, hollowed out like a husk. And the sisters Sindula watching your reaction. But if you put on the Janus mask, that won't happen. And she will give you a clue. It's a clue I'll share tomorrow. Pillow talk clue, say, if you do end up spending the night with her.
Well, the imperative at this point, clearly the dress is the issue, so we've got to get her out of it.
Yeah, precisely. Ms. Estrella, I owe you a clue as well, but there's a complication on your roll because you got a mid result, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same complication, which is you're going to get it tomorrow because Mr. Blackwood says, I actually have quite a lot to say about the seamstress who sold this vest to me. I would love to come by Hargrave House in the morning to tell you all about it.
I don't see people until I've had my breakfast, but I think
I'm happy
I
to
can make that
wait
work.
in the foyer.
I'm not sure about the foyer, but we'll see.
Indeed.
Yes, drop by.
Jonathan gives him a really hateful look. Like really, really hateful, like mean look. With his one eye.
Oh yeah. Narrows the one eye.
Yeah. Do I see that or do I not see that?
It's just a little bit of fun for us. I don't know.
Okay, that's good. Then okay, well I'll save Jonathan from a slap then. I'll just have not noticed it.
Miss Granson, or Grandson, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Abigail Walker says, you know, it's a funny thing. I didn't think it was important at the time, but well, you're going to think this is very, very silly. But this was found among Sir Richard's things. I kept it as a memento, but now I realize that perhaps there might be a connection to what happened to him. Maybe I should give it to Scotland Yard. I don't know. But she shows you a book. This is your clue. A book of fairy tales bound in pale blue leather with silver embossing. Comments and corrections are scrawled in the margins in an elegant script of unknown language. Someone commenting on the fairy tales. And that's your clue.
A person after my own heart, it seems.
And finally, Mr. Hart. There's a voice from the shadows of the ceiling of the cellar. A woman's voice. She says, "One of the legendary Hart family, stalking in my workshop at night. This is the sort of thing that is like to set you trembling. Should I be scared, Mr. Hart? Should I be worried that the legendary requiem will soon be piercing my breast?"
Fear is for the weak. Feel how you will, but know this: move too fast, and the feeling may be fleeting. How about you come out from the shadows and see if facing me is worthy of fear?
I think I just prefer to keep my eyes on you for now. And this is your clue. In the shadows, they're illuminated by rows of red glowing eyes.
Rows of red glowing eyes.
That will conclude the night phase. We don't see how that concludes, except the next morning you're at Hargrave House. That's what we know for sure.
Oh,
let's go to the dawn, the lovely dawn, with a note that I do owe clues to Ms. Fletcher and Ms. Estrella, daytime clues following up from the night. But for now, our dawn phase steps. We would collect rewards if a threat had been resolved, but it's not. So we do the dawn questions. Everyone has the same two first questions. Did the hunters answer a capital Q question? And did the hunters resolve a threat? The answer is no for everyone so far on that. But you might have experienced an echo in the night. Wild Rose, did you get an echo in the night?
You very kindly suggested there might have been one with the fireworks going off.
Fireworks, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it in there in time, but I was picturing the sisters looking down on Rose and Sylvia dancing, that shape echoing the swimming fish in the enamel.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
well.
that's lovely. Yeah, I love that. That's a kind of thing I love. That's sort of very like kind of sort of like kind of ephemeral connections. Those are great. Did you stick out in London society for all the wrong reasons, Ms. Fletcher?
I mean, I went in Bolshe, but people didn't seem to care. So.
That is true.
You're fine.
Did you use violence to solve a problem?
Not yet.
Not yet. I think it's coming though. I think it's coming. So you have 1 XP. You can mark that. Let's go to Granson. Granson, did you experience an echo in the night?
I don't believe so, no. I think I was just surrounded by academics getting stuff wrong, so there was no spark of joy compared to some of the other scenes.
But you know what, though? You did describe, in the beginning, you described the party
yes.
behind door. That's what the whole Midsummer Masquerade thing was. So yeah, you can take it for that.
Oh, cool.
Did you ensure your employer got credit for your triumphs?
I would say no, because unfortunately he was too busy sorting out a panther. Or and yeah, because I didn't do anything else on that, but I was just gathering information. So yes, so no, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered Mr. Hart?
No.
I don't know if that came up either.
No, I don't think so either.
I can set that up for you next time, though. Mrs. Straya. Mrs. Straya, you definitely got an echo in the night with the lavender. Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price for doing so, Mrs. Straya?
No, I think it was clear that Jonathan has done enough before we picked up on the action. No.
Did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane?
I don't know how
so.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
it felt like
cool.
your general vibe.
Yeah.
I got that vibe.
Yeah. I felt very forefront of your character, yes.
Yeah. Do you have 2 XP? Let's go to Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart, did you get an echo in the night?
No, I was angling for dancing red spurt being an echo of the flashback I told, rather than.
I'm into it. No, that's great.
It.
No, that's
okay.
Cool. Did you loudly curse your family's name?
No, I've got to get to that.
Not yet.
It's on the list.
Did you revel in the thrill of the hunt?
Not quite. It's all been a little bit run of the mill for Jonas. It seems like things have just started getting interesting. So I think next session the revelry may begin.
I don't know. I feel like you saying that catchphrase of the heart thing felt very.
Yeah.
Oh, you did, because you were like. Yeah, you like it was like your
catchphrase.
Never stop a heart. It came up with.
Never stop a heart. Yeah. I thought that was great.
I thought that was great. So yeah.
Gotta have a catchphrase, right? As a superhero hunter.
Exactly. It made me think of. Made me think of Rick Mail in Blackadder.
Yes. Less Lord.
If you wish,
surprise go for, but good.
If you wish, you can all change your Dawn questions or leave them either or both the same if you wish. But you have that option now.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I'm good with mine.
And we would resolve any playbook moves. Wild Rose, the only thing is just that you no longer get your superpowered animal magnetism. But I was, just so you know, I was interpreting Sylvia's attraction to you because of your mastery of the quickening. It's like she was drawn to that. So it had an effect, even though it didn't have a die effect. I was playing it that way. Great. The last thing is, do we have any Janus masks that are open right now? I think we have one for Grantson, but I don't know if anybody else does.
I think it's just me, yeah.
I put one on to make sure I succeeded the roll as well.
Well, whenever either of you are ready, go for it.
You first, Fiona.
Yeah, sure. You think I'd had time to prepare like Strat did, but I didn't. So I marked the first one, so that's narrate a flashback to your young adulthood before you were a servant that shows your most significant professional triumph. I think Grandson, if you do the flashback, you see a much younger Grandson, still sort of like this very stony, short woman with an umbrella, bustling through the London streets, people actually making way for her randomly, and she goes into a big building, and you can see other people sort of looking as she goes. Again, her hair up, like not really changed much in terms of appearance, but her striding this time it's more purposeful, and she goes and she opens a door into a big lecture theatre, and in the centre of the lecture theatre, it's like one of those, like sort of in the round sort of thing. You can see lots of young men all dressed up, and there's a cadaver on the on sort of not a stretcher but like on the table sort of, and they sort of look and say, "Oh, Grandson, come in. We're just about to begin." And she goes and you can see that she's sort of there, and she's chosen to help with sort of the dismemberment, sort of like the anatomy lesson that is happening, and she is one of the brightest sort of upcoming doctors, and also the only sort of female one of this class, everyone else is sort of a young man, something, and she's just sort of there, quiet, not really sort of taking it, but is with the scalpel as well, is just taking the joy in sort of like making those incisions, making it, and like sort of there's not like it's not like a what's the word? It's not like indulging in it, or it's not nothing like that. It's just the precise nature of it, everything in its place, and the body itself. It doesn't look human. It's sort of it's preserved in that sort of way that it is used for a medical purpose. It's used for a learning purpose, and so sort of harkening back to Helen's suggestion of the medical kit as well. You see, sort of left at the side is her medicine bag with her initials imprinted on it.
Fantastic, thank you, Ms. Fletcher.
So we flash back and we see a young Constance Fletcher, 7 or 8 years old, running down the corridor of a large house, being reprimanded for it by a housekeeper, and then being sort of guided, would never be forcefully dragged, but she's certainly dragging her heels as much as she can into a large stuffy library full of books that she has not been able to read, because she is then turned into a corner where there is an embroidery hoop and a selection of flowers to choose from that are all just a little bit dull. But as she looks out over the lawns, one of her brothers is practicing. An older brother is practicing his riding skills on horseback up and down the long expansive lawn.
Fantastic. Well, then in that case, before we do a quick debrief, I know we're over time, but I apologize for that. But before we do debrief, I do want to say that the camera of our television show, so to speak, swoops away from London and takes us out into the country. A grand manor house out in the country. And we go into this manor house and we see an enormous map of London. It's huge. It takes up this huge wall, vaulted ceiling, and the map goes all the way up. And sitting before the map, faced away from us, is a wingback chair, but there's someone sitting in the chair looking at the map. And coming into frame is an extremely old butler with a drink on a tray, very, very slowly doddering across the room with the tray. It takes a while. He gets there, and the person sitting in the chair takes the glass, and now we can see who it is. It is a woman, an older woman. Her beauty slightly faded, but only slightly, wearing a brilliant sapphire gem choker around her neck. She takes a sip of her drink, and then she gets up and walks over to her map of London. She has metal pins, and she sticks one in the address, the approximate location of Sir Richard's flat. And then she takes another and sticks it in Hargrave House. And then she takes a drink and gives a very self-satisfied smile. And that will conclude our session.
Oh.
No.
Amazing.
If we have time, we could just do a quick debrief would be great.
Yes.
I like to do a debrief called Stars and Wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about today. Either something one of your fellow players did, or something I did, or something about the game, or the scenario. And then wishes are things that you hope to see tomorrow when we play. So whoever wants to go first, please do.
I would like to give my star to Helen and all of Eve's just awful snappy
Beautiful.
comments. Just brilliant. I loved it. It's fantastic. She's awful. I hate her and I love her.
So true. So true.
Yeah. And wishes. Yeah, I don't think there's any like, oh gosh, darn it, we didn't get to do that, and I'm really bummed about it. I'm looking forward to more tomorrow and maybe doing a bit of ass kicking.
I think my star just goes to the world we're all building, and thank you, Jason, for guiding us into it. It's very vivid and real for me, and there's a definite mise en scène being created. I loved it. And my which is actually dovetails quite lightly to Nat's. I want to know what happens when you quicken. I was ready for a bad roll. I was like, oh, what's she going to become? So I really want to see what happens, and also kind of what happens when Jonas is maybe faced with an out of control fellow hunter. I don't know.
My star, well, I'll say my kind of general, it's kind of lots of stars. I really enjoyed, I think everyone did a really good job tonight, or today. I really love, everyone seemed to slip into the characters pretty easily and give us lots of good detail, which I liked. We had talked earlier about like me wanting, before we got on the recording, me wanting like lots of sensory detail and lots of gore, and like I got that, right, like, and so I was very, very happy with that. I particularly enjoyed the moment with Jonathan showing his eye was so gruesome and really, really good. I really dug this like kind of this like dynamic between Sylvia and Rose Fletcher. That was great fun. I had a really good, I really like Granson a lot. Granson has this like really interesting, I intentionally like kind of like sideline Granson in in a way, because that's what the factotum is, right? They are meant to be sidelined. But in a lot of ways, Granson is like really like kind of pivotal to the investigation and the story. Like we see a lot of it through Granson. And so and the way you're playing it is really, really good. It feels very grounded and cool. And I loved all the flashbacks and stuff with Jonas Hart, like particularly the hunting the child vampire. It was really, really good.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So just all around, everybody did a fantastic job today. And my wish is, I don't know what we're going to get to tomorrow, because I'm going to run it just like it's a regular session too, even though it's, our just a 2-shot for us. But I hope that you're able to, at the very least, resolve the threat, to figure out, to make the spider silk seamstress stop killing people. So however you have to do it. Yeah.
That's the hope, I think. I'll quickly go. Yeah, my stars is I mean I've played with most of you before, but again, both Jason and Helen, you've just blown me away with such cool little details and all. I know I saw someone in the chat saying I just want clips of Fiona's reactions because I'm so invested in all of your performances. I am proper panto player at the best of times, so that's why I'm like, oh cool, just by myself. But it's just because I'm so enwrapped with the story, and all of you brought it, and it is that sort of slow burn horror genre, like going down the stairs, and I'm just like going, don't go down the stairs, even though I want you to go downstairs. So I just love that, and I think everyone's just leaning really hard into this sort of weird gothic genre it's so niche and stuff. So no, thank you. So that's to everyone. I think everyone did an absolutely cracking job. My wish is, can we keep playing? Like I don't want to stop now. But I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. I don't have anything specifically. I'm just that's the thing. I'm just enjoying sitting here, being when I'm in the scene. I'm like I'm in the scene. But if not, I just want more of it. So I honestly, my wish is going to be fulfilled tomorrow. By being a stream as well.
I'm going to be very selfish and have another wish. That at the moment we've had quite disparate groups. I would like a chance for us to all actually be in the same room and role play together for a little bit, as opposed to being like, I'm going to go do this. Sounds and good. Chat to some NPCs.
That's a great note, because the way the gameplay goes is that's always a session 2 thing, because in session 1, you collect all the conditions basically in session 1, right? And then in session 2, to clear all those conditions you're all racking up, you have to have intimate scenes with the other hunters while one of you is doing your vice in order to get them cleared. So that's like the natural thing that happens. So yeah, you'll definitely get that tomorrow. it's kind of a TikTok the way the game goes. Like we hunt, we get conditions, we go be broody with each other and angsty. Yeah. So.
Love that.
Me last again. I don't know why I'm doing that. So I think I need to give my star to Jason's use of the dramatic pause. So I don't know if it's just to do with your leading style in this context, but the amount of times you paused and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Come on.
same.
So like, not only have you created this wonderful place with us, but the way you are speaking and telling the story not only means I have only got confused about a thing one time, but also, yeah, your dramatic pauses have been incredible. My wishes is for more flirting from everybody, please. I enjoyed I enjoyed Rose and Sylvia so much that let's just, I don't know. You will flirt with each other, and I will just abuse you.
You would tell us go away.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice.
Entertainment, please.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to resolve the mystery, but I am also just open to.
Yes.
No, seriously, I'm going to be really frustrated if we don't know what's going on.
Okay,
and I'm sure
we'll aim to finish the mystery then tomorrow.
Yeah. Sorry, all over the place. This is more what I'm actually like than just curt and malicious. But there we go.
Well, I think that's everybody then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else, so I look forward to tomorrow. Fiona, if you want to show us out of the Twitch or whatever.
I will. So I've put it in the chat several times, but if you are enjoying this, if you're like, oh, the in-between sounds amazing, I wonder what other RPGs that Jason does. Well, the link to thegauntletrpg.com, please go check them out. Please go buy the book. The QR code actually it goes to that page of the between, so it's really easy. Just get your phone up to the screen, unless you're watching it on your phone, and that's silly, isn't it? You don't off yet. But please go check it out. Please go support Jason and all of his other works. Obviously Brindlewood Bay we spoke about very briefly at the beginning. The other thing as well, I see Matt has been putting in the chat, so thank you so much, Matt. But obviously go check out Merely Roleplay, where you can see these three doing all their cool shows as well. I'm in one of them as well. It's the Nova one. I thought I was great in it, but obviously these guys are the more important thing.
So great.
She was.
You was fantastic.
I wasn't fishing, but I'll pay everyone afterwards, so it's fine. And just to finally finish off, thank you so much. Come back again tomorrow to see part 2. We're going to start at the same time at 7:30 GMT, and hopefully we'll sort out this mystery. Until then, we're going to awkwardly wave at the screen until I learn how to turn off the stream. But thank you so much, and I guess we'll end up by saying don't have nightmares, I guess. Bye, guys.
Bye.